Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis Spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You, Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making a deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
Who the hell voted for me?
Chicken.
Damn! We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk glamour to you. You understand that better?
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you all the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host, Ben Waterworth.
Yes, it is Survivor Oz, Australia's number one TV and film podcast, coming to you once again for our annual end of season episode, the episode that we go over the year that was, and this year obviously being 2015, it's time to go over the year that was 2015, and busy, hectic year as always. We had a lot of things going on. We introduced some new spin-off shows and brought in interviews, tried a few new things, and particularly at the start of the year, did our longest ever project yet. Turned out to be one of our most popular projects yet, and still to this day, amazingly, gets a lot of feedback and a lot of response. I am, of course, talking about our rankings cast, but we'll get to that very, very shortly. We like to basically go over a few stats at these best of episodes, the beginning of these best of episodes, just to kind of give you an overview of the year. Now, with some of these figures, it might sound like we had a bit of a slower year, but I think some of them kind of go around a little bit each other, some of how we look at it. Now, if we look at the episodes this year, only 144 episodes, which doesn't sound like that much compared to 276 last year. But if you've actually got to analyse the situation with those, in 2014, we were, of course, covering Big Brother as well as Amazing Race Australia, and interviews that came along with those. And, of course, we had exit interviews. And one thing also that happened, had a lot more spare time, personally. Some personal things changed in my own personal life, so that enabled a few different things to happen throughout this year. So 144 episodes, that made 218 hours worth of content. So looking at that, 218 hours from 144 episodes and 296 hours last year. So not too down compared to that if you were to look at that. Days worth of episodes, 9 days and 8 minutes it would take you to listen to every single piece of content that we made throughout 2015. There were 93 interviews last year, 52 this year. That includes Ozlet introduction interviews and Amazing Race interviews alongside there. Survivor interviews, 40 this year, alongside 65 from last year. That includes a lot of pre-game Cambodia interviews as well. And in terms of new Survivor contestants to tick off our list, 21 new interviews in 2015, down from 38 from last year. But as always, we knew that was kind of going to be the case, just with the way things obviously go and make things very different in terms of how it is getting a lot of interviews along the way. If we were to look at our live episodes, 31 live episodes this year, one up from last year. So we produced 50 hours of live content in 2015. Several things this year again, charting on iTunes as always. We did also receive back-to-back awards from Reality Show EU, the Czech and Slovak Reality Awards. We were honoured once again to receive the Best International Website Award from them, so thank you very much, 2 years in a row. If you look at our website hits, we're up to 5.5 million in total now, got 2 million extra hits this year, which we obviously appreciate that support. We had a big jump in our Facebook likes, 2,500 at the end of 2014. We're approaching 4,500 now, so obviously getting a bit more social out there. Twitter, we're up 8.9 thousand followers, up from 8.5 last year. And big things happened this year, of course, with new introduction. You just heard it. 2015 version of our introduction. Our website got a big overdue spruik up, so thank you very much for Ryan Brink for helping that. And also a brand new logo this year. So all changes on the Survivor Oz front in 2015. But You're listening to this, of course, to hear some best of highlights. I should also mention, two new spin-off shows, Euros Vision and 007, which we'll get to throughout this episode. I'm just going a million miles a minute here trying to get into these. We're going to kick things off, though, right back in January, and our very first episode of the year was our OzCap of the 29th season of Survivor Samoan Del Sur, which was concluded in 2014. But we had to sit down and recap in what we call our OzCap.
I don't know, yeah, like, I thought it was half good.
Half good.
Half good. Half good.
Half good.
Half good.
Oh, I can hear myself. Hello, Ben. How are you, Ben? Oh, no, I've gone now. All right, I would like to present to you a random John Rocker trivia brought to you by... That was the wrong one. But brought to you by... Sugar. John is one of 3 men with the first name being John to finish in 16th place. The other 2 being John Raymond and John...
Oh, wow, how fucking interesting.
And John Palyok. That was my...
Normally, you know, I hate the trivia. I think that's a weird coincidence. I like that one.
I was hoping...
That's so random.
I was hoping it would tell me what number contestant he was to be voted out with an idol, but no. It tells me that
they only have the important ones on Survivor Wiki.
Yeah, huge. Thanks, Survivor Wiki. Appreciate it.
We do love Survivor Wiki, just for those from Survivor Wiki listening. Our first interview for 2015 was a huge one. Lynn Spielman, main casting person for Survivor, has been there since the beginning. We tried to get on the show for several years. We finally managed to do so. Let's hear a little bit of a snippet from our Lynn Spielman interview.
And to people who sent me through audition tapes, well, look, maybe I'll speak to Lynn after this and see if she wants them. But I've got no bearing in Survivor.
We watch everything. Just so you know, people that got it in late, we watch all year round, and we watch everything, and almost everything gets watched twice because somebody's eyeballs or somebody's experience with the show might be different than somebody else's. So everybody should know, if you apply, we watch it. I promise.
We'll remember that for those applying. We then had to preview the 30th season of Survivor, which began in 2015. Survivor Worlds Apart. Let's hear a little bit from our Survivor Worlds Apart preview episode when it came to Jen and her pre-game favourite player from a previous season turned into something quite funny.
Survivor contestant that she's most like. I can't even read this without laughing.
She's a super fan. What can you say? She's even seen international versions with names that have never been on this one.
Malcolm. Yeah, maybe he's just like the me in guy form, or maybe Kate. Maybe Kate. She had a strong personality. Now for people who...
Kate is a strong-minded woman, whoever she is.
Now for people like... Who is Kate?
Maybe she is such a super fan that she has nicknames for all of her favourite players.
Maybe she's...
I just love that some people say that there's like no one else ever before, and she's like someone who doesn't exist.
Maybe Kate's on season 31. Like this is like the because clearly I love Jen, but like clearly she's not a fan, and they've just given her DVDs.
I love that it's not just Kate; it's maybe Kate because she has a strong personality.
Could you not imagine like the interviewer asking this question and her answering it? So Jen, we just need you to fill in this question. Who's your favourite? Who are you most like? Malcolm. Yeah, no, he's like me, and oh, what's the name? Oh, that one. Kate. Yeah.
She probably didn't know any female contestants, so she was like, oh, surely there's been a Kate on the show before.
We'll perhaps hear a little bit more about that Kate talk when we hear our Jen interview later on in this episode. Every January, we seem to do a top 25. We get you to vote in terms of a variety of different subjects each year. This year, it was greatest episodes in the history of Survivor. We did a live episode revealing these, and the live episode that we did had a platform with the ability for some interesting sound effects.
Yeah, I thought it would be higher. I thought that simply just sort of being in the first episode, it would get a lot of votes, even from people who sort of hadn't watched it, just for the sake of it sort of it being the first episode. But I mean, I'm glad it's top 10. I think it maybe deserved to be a little higher, but I think it's an okay spot.
That's Jared, and it should be a little bit higher. Never mind. All right, let's get into number 6. 87 votes. That joke involved Anybody? Bueller? Anyway.
I miss those sound effects. I wish we could bring them back. January also saw the beginning of our biggest ever project ever here on Survivor Oz. A project that took us 34 hours to do. We thought it would only take about 5-10 hours. No, it took us 34 hours. Multiple recording sessions. It took us days. It took us weeks. It was frustrating. It was recorded in heat. We got angry. We got upset. We got happy. Everything else in between. It was our rankings cast. We sat down and ranked every single Survivor player in the history of the show to celebrate the 15th anniversary of Survivor. 442 contestants we had to rank, and in the very first episode we thought we would play highlight of who was the very first person, who was, in terms of our show, regarded as the worst player of all time. Doesn't necessarily reflect each of the people who were involved on the episodes. Should mention that, of course, was myself, Noah, Colin, Paul and Kate. We all stayed through all 34 hours, and also a special nod out there to Rossi, who sat down and did some statistics in the background. But yes, here it is. Here's how it began. 442, the worst person in the history of Survivor, according to our rankings cast.
Let's start this. Let's kick it off. 442. Over to you.
Okay, number 442 is from season 21, Nicaragua. She had a hideous jacket. She wouldn't shut up. She was off on her own a lot, and she had the audacity to interrupt Jeff Probst. It is Wendy Desmet Koff.
Wendy Joe, wasn't it?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Her.
Yeah, all right. Well, we start off generally. We'll go in order. Noah, will throw to you. Wendy.
Yeah, I can't really complain with that one. It was in my bottom 10. It wasn't going to be my bottom person, but she really did nothing right in the game. So in my bottom 10, not my bottom, I'll go with Wendy as the worst.
Okay, Colin, anything to say?
No, completely agree with Noah. I wouldn't have put her at the very bottom, but when you're down to the bottom 10, as he said, I mean, it's fair enough. She really didn't have anything going for her, so that's a fair choice.
Where are we, Paul?
Yeah, I agree with Kate with this one. I had her as my fourth worst, so I had her at 439, so it's pretty damn close, so I'm not going to veto. I'm going to leave it at that.
And look, I'll just say she would have been in my bottom list. I wouldn't have put her at the worst, but I'm not going to veto or disagree with it. So, yeah, I think we have it right there. Locked, done. Easy.
We'll hear a little bit more of that in just a few moments, because that was January. Let's move into February. Here we are. We're in February. We concluded our rankings cast. Now, rather than sit through each of the 5 episodes that we put out there, 34 hours, as I said, worth of content and highlight from each of them, we thought what we would do just in terms of the wrap-up. Now, there were lots of moments that were remembered. Lots of people have sat down and listened to these multiple times, apparently. But the one thing that always stands out is Kate's reaction to Boston Rob being put up at number 12. And then, of course, we had to show how the number 1 was decided. So let's hear this. It's all in one extended clip. Kate's reaction to Boston Rob at 12 and who the number 1 was and how it was decided.
I'm going to nominate Boston Rob for number 12.
Oh!
What the fuck?
That's why I set it up front. Okay. Now here's the argument.
Shut up now! Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ! Oh,
here's the argument.
No.
Kate, do I even need to ask you what you're doing here?
Beat the fuck out of that shit! Like, what's wrong with you? Are you fucking high? Like, no.
I wish.
No.
I understand it, but we need you to say up here on Tina Wesson to just at least give us something here. We need to keep this. Please say something on Tina Wesson.
I don't give a shit. I'm going to bed. Fuck all of you. Good night.
So that's a no veto? Oh. Well, I'm going to say that's a no veto.
Well, I would probably agree with that, Noah. Okay.
How old is Kate? Sorry. Are we still?
How old is Kate?
Please edit that out.
How old is
All right, Colin. You've got to choose between 2 people, my friend. This is what we've all been waiting for. So, Colin, it's over to you.
The interesting thing, and a lot of people are going to listen to this list and they're going to be like, you guys got it all wrong with who your placings are. We could very well end up with a number one who is not number one on any of our lists. And that's really interesting, but it is a majority and it is a combined list. It is so close between, I think, the three players I had. I had Todd in here. There's so many arguments you can make for all of them. One had, for the two that are left, one had a dominant game against competition that maybe wasn't all that competitive. The other one had a completely under the radar, would seem to be a disastrous game against the best competition in the world. Both of them managed to win. Really, it's not that I'm making much of a pick because it'll still come down to vetoes, but I still believe that for the fact that Sandra could win this twice, you can't ignore that. So I'm going to put up Kim in number 2.
And if you didn't realise what happened then, Kim at number 2 meant Sandra was number 1, and that's how it stayed. So if you haven't sat down and listened to all 34 hours, you might want to sit down for quite some time because it's very long and, hopefully in some people's ears and eyes, enjoyable. We brought back interviews in February. Kelly Wentworth, who of course at this stage was only a one-time player, she spoke to us about Salman Del Sur. Let's hear a little bit of that.
Because I'm that creepy Survivor person that's not over the fact that I was out number 5. So yeah, I'm a loser. So I follow some of them. Also because I actually do enjoy some of their tweets. They are hilarious, some of these people. And there's like this like messaging in the tweets sometimes where I'm like, oh my God, they're trying to tell me something and it's totally going to play out in like episode 7. I swear. I'm probably just making that up. But, shit, I don't even know where I was going with that.
Happens all the time on this show. Who knows?
We were talking about the people. I don't know. But I do know they're very close. Yeah, so the point is that I see them, like, tweeting to each other, and I'm like, what the fuck? We couldn't do that on our season. Maybe they just like these people more than us.
Well, a lot of people liked her more to bring her back only a few months later. We also spoke to her dad, Dale, who, of course, we would also see return, kind of, in Cambodia. Let's hear a little snippet of our Dale Wentworth interview. Thank you, Drew, is I guess what you would be saying.
Yeah, thank you, Drew.
You saved me for a few more days there, Drew. Thank you very much.
You saved me, yeah, and that's it. All of a sudden, you aren't thinking it's how fast that game goes. You aren't thinking 24 hours. You're just thinking, I'm not trying to make the merge. I'm just trying to survive to see the sun another day.
Exactly. Now, speaking of Cambodia, the winner of Cambodia, spoiler alert, of course, Jeremy Collins from Salman Del Sur. We had the pleasure of speaking to him a couple of times this year before he went out. The first time was our post-game interview with him about his time on Salman Del Sur, and we had to ask him about his favourite winner. And considering that only a few months' time he'd become a winner of Survivor, this is his response before he was a winner of Survivor.
I really liked Tony winning it. I thought his was so wild. And I don't know if that was because that's the latest in my mind that was just so crazy and wild that it just, there was times in that season when I was screaming like, oh man, look at them, they're chasing, Spencer's chasing Wu, you know what I mean? Like just things like that. I thought that was an awesome season. I don't know, there's so many of them, Russell, all Russell season when he's just going crazy and JT gives him an idol, that's awesome.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know. I got a whole bunch of favorites. I couldn't give you one.
Well, maybe he'd vote for himself now. Who knows? Jacqueline Schultz also came on the show, talk about her time on Salman Del Sur, and of course Jacqueline and her then fiancé, John Mish, who we will hear from later on in this episode as well, were getting married in 2015. They did get married. And this is a bit of pre-marriage talk about what the plans were at that stage. Question everybody's asking you now, Jacqueline. The wedding, are the plans already in place? When are you looking at the big day?
Yes, we're 90% sure it's going to be August 16th, 2015. It's actually on my birthday.
Brilliant.
Downtown Detroit in Michigan, and John's like, oh, this is the best birthday present you will ever get, marrying me. I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, that's a good. I don't hear many people getting married on their birthday, so there you go. That's at least John will never forget the anniversary. At least you could say that.
Right, right. I'm giving him an easy pass for the rest of his life.
Yes. Like, if he forgets both your birthday and your anniversary, then he's screwed. Like,
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah. He's like, you're not going to get double presents though.
that's the
I'm
one
like,
downside.
or whatever.
Someone Del Sur interviews continued in the month of February, including with the winner of Someone Del Sur, the one, the only, Natalie Anderson. Let's hear from her now.
Did you guys know he was throwing that challenge, or was it a complete shock?
No, Drew said this on all his interviews. He said that me, John, and Jeremy knew he was throwing this bloody challenge, but we had no idea. Like, he had talked about it, and all of us were like, Drew, don't. We're like, don't do it. It's not what it's due. But he had, in his head, he had kind of told us this, and then he was out at Exile. And so when he came back to Exile, we had an argument back at Hunapu about who should sit out. And then the fact that Jeremy and John sat out, Drew thought that was a signal to say, yeah, Drew, we're throwing the challenge, throw the challenge today, because those were really two strong competitors. And so when they set out, Drew was like, all right, I got the signal, guys. Don't worry, I'm going to throw the challenge. He threw the challenge, and all of us were like, dude, that was not the plan.
Our Amazing Race episodes also continued in 2015. I took a step back from these, allowed Colin and Noah to take control of these ones, and they got together and decided to preview the 26th season of The Amazing Race. Let's hear a snippet of that now.
Okay, so let's move on. Matt and Ashley is the next team, actual dating couples. So, Rossi, what are your opinions on Matt and Ashley?
Yes.
Oh,
I love
he's excited now.
Me too. The best. They're my favorite team right now that I know as a team. Like, I've seen as a team, because I haven't seen the other two, the individuals yet. But their video was so felt so raw and so produced. Like, they're talking over each other and. But I just love them. I don't know.
Where do you put them in your rankings?
I have them fourth. They're that strong team that gets eliminated just before the finale, or in the finale. Who knows with this new versions.
Let's hope not.
Our last episode of the month was our first Oztopsy for the 30th season Survivor Worlds Apart. Let's hear a bit of a highlight from that episode.
Is that mine?
Yeah, no, it's Dan.
Dan.
Yeah.
Already hungry.
Dad, we'll talk a lot about Dad this episode, but we got one person this episode ripping off a tree, eating it. One person, a scorpion! Nom, 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 nom. But Vince, what was he doing? Was he like a dog sticking his tongue out like a...
He looked like someone who was on acid at a festival or something.
He was jealous that the air wasn't giving him attention, a la Jen.
Oh, jealousy, tends to be a big thing in Vince's.
The air had a bad vibe.
Yeah. Lots of talk about Vince early on in Survivor Worlds Apart, of course. Very much an entertaining figure at that point of the season. The month was March, and March continued on Worlds Apart. It was getting busy, so lots of Oztopsies, lots of episode recaps with former Survivor contestants. Our second Oztopsy kicked off the month, however, and let's hear a little bit of that now.
Paul, is that something you say to Caitlin? Like, hey, Caitlin, can you wash my manties?
No. I wish I could say yes, but no.
Not implying that Caitlin does you do your own washing, of course.
I do. I'm a 21st century man.
Exactly. So am I.
Glad Louise doesn't listen to this. She'll probably laugh at me if I said that to her face. Amazing Race continued on in March, and there were more episode recaps. Let's hear a little bit of that now.
That thing was probably what was throwing off his rhythm in the sinking steps that we'll get to later on. Because Jenny's definitely, between the two of them, Jenny dominates everything she does, and Jelani's kind of struggling. So lose the fanny pack and we'll see what happens.
Episode recaps continued in 2015 Worlds Apart. Our first episode was with Jeremy, as you heard from again, and his lovely wife Val, hosted by the wonderful Colin Hilding. You just heard a little bit of his voice there. Let's hear a little bit about that episode. Colin hosting the Jeremy and Val recap.
He's making it a little bit too obvious with Jen that he feels that way. His insecurities are coming out too much, and that's never a good thing. I mean, asking Jen if she's attracted to, like, what are you, like, you looking for love? Like, hello, this is like a Tinder date. You're on Survivor.
Yeah,
So.
Jen said that too. She was like, "Oh no, I'm not doing this."
You know, I mean, I think she played it well with trying to, put his mind at ease, but. Again, he's putting his paranoia out there, which gives somebody an advantage to know your weakness, and you never want to do that in Survivor.
I like it. I think it's awesome. I think Vince is crazy, and he's just throwing everything out there. Now, my thing is, like, Jen, is she gonna go with Vince because she knows he's crazy, or and she could ride with him, later on, and he won't, he'll stick by her. Or is she going to go with the person that everybody likes? You know what I mean? So I think it's good. I think she should go with Joe because Vince is a madman.
Funny hearing Jeremy talk about Joe, considering that at that point, I assume they didn't know each other. But we know how that all played out in a couple of months' time. But the continuation of the episode recap, I just had to extend that word out a little bit. Tina Wesson, winner of the Australian Outback, 3-time player, good friend of the show. And Tina was very impressed by my knowledge of contestants' ages, thinking that I knew them off the top of my head. And then after that, you'd be looking at Mike, who was 38. So, yeah.
How do you know this?
I've got a list. Oh, actually, no, hang on. Sorry, no, I don't have a list. I just know this off the top of my head. I'm cheating. I have a list in front of me here of your season.
My gosh, I was going to say that's impressive.
I should have just shut up there. I should have just been like, yeah, I'm that smart. But no, Wikipedia is my friend, Tina, when it comes to these episodes.
Okay. Well, that's impressive.
Yes. More Amazing Race recaps happened, and Kristen, one of our very popular Ozlets, didn't appear on any Survivor episodes in 2015, but she did appear on Amazing Race episodes. Let's hear a little bit about Kristen's thoughts on The Amazing Race.
Like, the more ridiculous that this show can get, like, I love it. I was so excited when I saw that. Like, I wish they got
selfie stick?
just for the pure fact that it is so ridiculous. Like, I don't actually love it. I just love that it's absurd and that, like, I wish that they got to use them.
Yeah, well, I love Haley's quote. Oh, we get to take a selfie!
There wasn't enough of that last week.
There were a few episodes that I was away from when it came to Survivor in March, including an Oztopsy and an episode recap. The Oztopsy hosted by Noah Groves. Let's hear a bit of a snippet of that one now.
I loved Haley's comment at Tribal Council, though. If you want to do good at this game, though, Nina, you've got to eat a lizard. Like, is that the key to winning Survivor?
Build a fire.
You have to eat a lizard?
Eat a lizard.
Like, come on, Nina, if you want to be a part of the tribe, you got to eat this lizard. Like, it seemed a bit off there.
Should have mentioned that was episode 3 of Worlds Apart Oztopsy and episode 3 of Worlds Apart recap episodes, again hosted by Noah. Colin joined in for this one. Kathy Sleckman from Survivor Micronesia joined them to talk about that week's episode.
This is like the worst episode to recap. I'm telling you once again. This is the worst show ever to recap.
Yeah, well, I feel like
I'm
a lot of
nothing. The only person I like is Carolyn. I like Carolyn.
Oh, I'm a massive Carolyn fan, but yeah, a lot of people hated last season, but I feel like last season there was a lot of stuff we could dive into. This season, I just don't know if we've been giving a lot of good stuff.
I don't think we are. I mean, when the best you've got out of, 1,000 hours of tape is Sharon talking about monkey sex, then no.
We had to fit monkey sex somewhere in the month of March, of course. Worlds Apart Oztopsies continued. I was back, had a lot of fun, and time to hear a snippet of our Worlds Apart Oztopsy from episodes 4 and 5 of that season.
I loved, like, the whole, and obviously they left it in there because clearly Kelly nearly died from, like, the thing that smacked her in the head. But, like, Jeff Probst, so protective of his precious little platform. He's like, Dad, be careful with that! Like, Will, be careful when that drops! I mean, Colin, do you think, like, Jeff personally created that little pulley or something?
It would seem that way. I like when Jeff kind of loses it for very basic mistakes and everything. I also like that, despite the fact that
Kelly was gushing blood to the point where you could see it pooling on her buff.
Yeah.
He still made everybody keep their buffs on because he was more protective of the challenge than anything else. So it was kind of nice to see him putting the priority of the show above everybody's health.
More Amazing Race happened. More Kristen happened. Let's listen to it.
The egg, but they all have the 100-year egg or 1,000-year-old egg, which makes no sense because it only takes a few weeks to make.
The egg called.
What?
What was the name of the egg that you can purchase on Amazon?
Oh, I don't know. I left that page.
Alright, moving on.
I'm lost in that conversation. Yeah. Purple Kelly Sheen is one of our favourite recappers. We tend to get her on every season, one of our favourite guests on the show. And she joined us, of course, to talk about Worlds Apart, although the conversation did get a little bit off topic at one point in the episode.
While I was there was not any nudity. And that's the biggest question I get asked, like relating to nudity. Does anyone hook up on Survivor? Like, are you kidding me? We're disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are so gross. We can't smell each other, but we know how gross we are. It's like, come on. There really isn't any nudity. And that's the last thing we even think about, I think.
And speaking of going off topic, our next Oztopsy for episode 6, Worlds Apart, somehow got onto the conversation of McDonald's. And this next string of conversation, if I have to rank some of my favourite moments from 2015 personally, this would be it, because I don't think I laughed as hard on any Oztopsy throughout the year as I did in this moment.
But we've got Nugget!
Nugget!
Vegetarian!
Filet-O-Fish!
Oh, Filet-O-Fish is worse.
Or as they call it in America.
No one wants a Filet-O-Fish. Boo! No one wants a Filet-O-Fish from McDonald's.
We call it fish fingers.
I don't think I've ever had a Filet-O-Fish in my life.
Who has had a Filet-O-Fish?
I've had one, yeah. It wasn't the greatest.
Oh, you're so...
That's like the anti-reward. The losers have to eat the Filet-O-Fish.
It's basically just a bit of cheese on a fillet of fish, on an actual fish fillet.
I don't think that's actual fish. I think
it's like fish finger meat. It's like the fish finger kind of fish.
Yeah.
It's real.
But where does cheese go with fish?
Yeah, I don't fish understand. Sauce on a bit of
got
chicken
a rough
nugget.
tartare sauce, like a white sauce. Yeah.
Filet-O-Fish.
You know,
Vegetarian.
They don't even call it a Filet-O-Fish in America. It's called like a fish sandwich. Like, you know.
It's clearly a burger.
And if you listen to that now, you're probably thinking, why is that funny? That's not funny. You had to kind of be there. We close out the month of March with another episode recap for episode 6 of Survivor Worlds Apart. The original winner, Richard Hatch, one of the greatest of all time, returned to the show, and the conversation turned into talking about shark attacks. See, like, Tom Westman got so much love for killing a shark. I mean, he didn't bite it to kill it, did he? I mean, you actually, like, a shark attacked you, you attacked it back. Come on.
I didn't have much choice.
Yeah.
Could not get it off to let go once it bit.
That's the secret. If anybody listening out there is about to get attacked by a shark, bite it back. It's, you know.
Bite it back.
Doesn't matter how big it is. Like,
it's true.
Great white's halfway up your body. Just bite it, it will let you go. Now we're going to come.
Then I just poking its eye out or something.
March was drawing to a close. Richard Hatch, that was it. The first quarter of the year was done, and that only means, of course, that it was time to move into the month of April. April continued the year, and it was the month that saw us move into another podcast. We branched out and did a spin-off of the show outside of our Big Brother Oz and Amazing Race Oz spin-offs. This one had its entirely separate feed, an entirely separate website, and it was on the subject of Eurovision. Now, people who are listening to us maybe in America or some places where they've never heard of Eurovision, essentially a big, huge song contest that is held yearly in Europe. All the nations in Europe come together, they put out a song, and then basically they get voted on who will win. It was called Eurozvision, funnily enough, and let's see how that show started back in April. Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to Eurozvision, Australia's only podcast on Eurovision that we know of. We are thrilled to be here for the third official spin-off of Survivor Oz. This has got nothing to do with Survivor. It has nothing to do with reality TV. We are talking about Eurovision. The Eurovision...
Don't tune out if you don't like Survivor.
Yes. The Eurovision Song Contest, which, if by chance you've stumbled across this from listening or being an avid Survivor Oz listener, both of you, thank you for switching across to us. But the Eurovision Song Contest is in its 60th year this year, and if you mention the word ABBA, you might know about Eurovision. And if you didn't like Eurovision, you didn't listen to it, so that's fine. But we did also continue to talk about Survivor in the month of April, including our Oztopsies, and let's hear a little bit from our Worlds Apart episode 7 Oztopsy. Two things we've got to bring up right now. One is a negative, one is a positive. Let's start with the positive, because there were two subtle references to two favourites and friends of ours on this show in this episode. The first one involved getting stung and urination. That, of course, is Dan getting stung by the jellyfish. And, he already peed on it. Jen saying it didn't work. She was a lifeguard. Then as he walks off, Shred, want me to pee on it?
Yeah, she
already did.
She was so keen to do that.
The only bit that would have made it better then was if she had have gone, oh my God, can I Kathy Vavrick O'Brien on your John Carroll? Like, she's meant to be a super fan. Come on then, Shireen.
That kind of sounds like a Brian Gumble, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We did also bring back commentaries in the month of April, 6 all-star commentaries to be precise. We're not going to put highlights of those on here, but if you wish to go to our website, click on the commentaries tab, you can find them there. April, of course, I should say, is the month of Reality Rally, and an event that we like to cover as much as we can, all the way from here in Australia. Exciting that we will be going there in 2016, well, myself personally will be. But for myself this year, I wasn't able to do the episode, but Colin Hilding stepped in to speak to our very dear friend Gillian Larson about the Reality Rally for 2015.
Oh, and we're obviously very thankful for the part you played in putting this together. Think about there's 25 of us who are working on Survivor Oz now, and none of us would have anything to do had you not sent a random message to Ben.
Isn't that fun? Mm-hmm. That is really amazing. In fact, I love your web blogging. Caroline from, or she goes by Blogger Gal, she's been blogging for us, but she just moved about a week ago, so she hasn't blogged for the last 2 weeks. But I kind of feed her stories, bits and pieces about this and that and the other, and then she turns them into a really well-written blog. So if you guys are ever looking for a good blogger or a good writer, just let me know.
Our recap episodes continued, and Colin also stepped into the shoes once again to do one of my favourite ever recaps we've ever had on Survivor Oz. Sadly, I wasn't a part of this one, but the 20s, Natalie and Nadia Anderson, joined Colin to talk about episode 7 of Worlds Apart.
Maybe everybody's still waiting for him to make those magical sandwiches that he's going to be able to put together.
Yeah, what? That was so random. Like, what are you still high off the pot that you had, in back home? Like, what the hell? Found some shrooms on the island? I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, I don't know.
Listen to the whole thing. It's fantastic. Oztopsies. I'm getting everything wrong this episode. Oztopsies continued, episode 8. Let's hear a little bit of that one right now. Noah, you seem to be up and down on Jen. Where are you on Jen this week?
Again, it's the up and down. Last week I was on the Jen train. This week I'm kind of running behind the train, trying to jump into one of the carriages. This is the most bipolar contestant in terms of me liking them, because one week I love them, one week not. But I did like her. I like her more than the Blue Collar Alliance, and she was kind of quiet this week, so it was hard to get a full grasp on Jen, which is interesting, seeing as her biggest ally went this week. But I guess I'm still liking her, but I'm not necessarily rooting for her to win. And if she gets voted out, I won't be totally upset, but I still want her in the game because she's fun.
Noah continued on his discussion when it came to the Amazing Race, as himself, Colin, and the gang sat down and talked about episode 5 of season 26.
When I first saw this challenge, I was looking at the reindeer inside there, and I thought it was real reindeer. And I was assuming somebody was going to run one of these over. I'm like, this is a huge risk here with the wildlife of Germany.
Well, Phil is the animal charmer, so he had it all under control. He's had puffins, dogs, flying birds.
A very good friend, Brian Corridon from Guatemala, joined us next to talk about the 8th episode of Survivor Worlds Apart. Let's hear a snippet of that one now.
I mean, it'll be... there's a lot of game left to be played. It's only the first juror. He's got to get rid of about 7 more jurors before anything happens. So We'll see. Just at this point, I do think that he's got such an abrasive personality that he might be hard. Is he the kind of person you want to give $1 million to? He just, I don't know. You're like, what is this idiot going to do with $1 million? Like, buy hookers and booze? Like, okay.
Well, he didn't win, so we will never find that one out. Episode 9, Oztopsy, came about next, and for some reason the conversation turned into Temptation Island.
Yeah, that's the first time Temptation Island I think's been mentioned ever in like the last 8 years. So,
This should just become a Temptation Island podcast.
Oh, fuck. Oh, remember that scene with that
Joe Millionaire?
Oh my god.
That could totally be our next like random commentating episode after bringing sexy back and all that.
Bringing Temptation Island back.
Well, they're rebooting everything. If they can reboot the X-Files, they can reboot Temptation Island. So
what, they're rebooting the X-Files?
they're having like
What?
8 episodes or something. Like they've still got the same actors in it, but whatever.
So it's not a reboot.
Well, okay. Well, it's not a reboot. They're bringing whatever. They're bringing it back. Okay, so.
David Duchovny's face would have fallen off by now, wouldn't it?
Hey, you leave Hank Moody / Fox Mulder alone, okay?
Let's just say Fox Mulder. Fox Mulder.
Looking forward to seeing Fox Mulder in the X-Files return. That's a separate story. The Amazing Race continued. More episodes happened, and let's hear a little bit of the next episode, episode 6 of The Amazing Race Season 26.
Is that not the same as the Blind Detour?
Yeah, but was it ever expressed that you could switch?
What the hell was that?
I think Phil's in the background trying to defend the roulette detour. Phil's on the scene. No, Rossi, you're alright. I think Rossi's getting told off. Get to class.
Lots of things happening in that episode. I apparently missed a fair bit. Jonathan Penner, speaking of missing a bit, wasn't able to do the Jonathan Penner one. Recap episode for Worlds Apart. Disappointing, because I always love Jonathan Penner on this show. Colin filled in the gaps again, and very entertaining chat. The question was raised about what Jonathan Penner thought about his finishing position in our rankings cast, and this was Jonathan Penner's reaction.
The ability to veto a choice. You basically argue back and forth for your case. Does this person belong here?
Sure.
So
how long did it take?
Well, you ranked at number 59. So
terrible. That's not right. No, that's wrong.
Well,
that's wrong.
I'm even more disappointed to say. I'm going to start again by saying, I already said earlier, I mean, I stopped watching Cook Islands when you were gone. You're easily in my top 5 favorite Survivor players of all time, but I was unfortunately the one that put you up in 59.
Fool.
Fool.
You would have lost Survivor. You see that? You got a disastrous strategic move on your part.
Well, I think that comes pretty close to answering their question, which is, how do you feel about ranking at 59?
Fucking disastrous. It's a mistake. Clearly. No, wait a second. No, hold on. Listen, I'm not an egomaniacal guy. I have a healthy ego. But I think that any rational Survivor fan would say that I deserve to be higher than 59th in the ranking of Survivor players.
Always love Penner on the show. Need to get him back. Oztopsy episode 10 for Worlds Apart was next. Let's hear a snippet of that.
So other than that, nobody else in the line has got anybody. So Nick's got Dan, Jimmy. Fuck off, Jimmy! Stop winning. Got Mike.
You're fucking mate, Jimmy.
Jimmy wins every
He
time.
makes such a good video this week of the Game of Thrones one, and then like
Jimmy just makes a living out of winning Survivor Oz sweepstakes.
Jimmy, just stop it. Next,
He has to pay tax on his winnings.
Yeah.
Needs to pay tax on his Toontown.
His Purple Kelly messages.
And hello to Jimmy. Should he be listening? Amazing Race continued. Episode 7 and 8 of Season 26 were recapped. Let's hear a bit of that one now.
I don't really mind them. I think it would be interesting if maybe they just, every date night is a blind date with just somebody from the country that they're at. Increase their chances of somebody ending up together, so that'd be nice.
That's a good idea. Or maybe the date night should be between couples who aren't racing together, so put Hayley and Laura on a date or something like. I would watch that, but anyway, let's not get into that.
The month of April was concluded with Troy Zan Robinson joining us for a Worlds Apart episode 10 recap. We'll hear from Troy Zan again, funnily enough, in the next month. We'll get to that in just a few moments, but let's hear from Troy Zan's recap.
Have Dan stand up. Oh, by the way,
I got another secret vote, you know.
Hashtag twist.
With yeah. Hashtag second vote. Hashtag magic.
Yes.
Hashtag didn't Tony get some magical?
Oh, what do you? Yeah, I mean,
magical idol or some shit.
Oh, the Tyler Perry idol. Yes.
Yeah.
Which was just a rehash of an idol we had back in like Cook Islands and Panama.
Yeah, they'll always come up with something, you know.
As I said, we'll hear from Troy Zan in just a few moments. That was April as we moved into May. May brought about more amazing Race Oz episode recaps, including talking about the 9th episode of season 26.
I'm gonna get in trouble if I say any more because, again, my wife in the background, she hates Haley to the point where if you say anything positive or even laugh at Haley, she kicks you in the middle of the episode.
You just mention her name, she just sneezes. It's weird.
That's what's gonna happen. It's something about Haley brings on an allergic reaction and she starts coughing and sneezing. But
yeah, well, I can't, she's the only person who hates her.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. She's not
on the show.
She says
like, no one's allowed to hate Haley.
She doesn't like. She says she likes nothing about her. Like, you can't say anything positive about Haley without her blowing up at you.
Again, I'm missing a whole lot in those episodes. Oz Topsies continued for the month of May as we got closer to the pointy end of Worlds Apart. And it was episode 11 time. Let's hear a little snippet of that Oztopsy.
I don't know if he will be the winner, but I don't know how much we can read into that, and I don't know who's trying to start Flint fire at the moment. But,
somebody's having some Rodney time, I think.
Yeah. That was a really messy comment, but I'll just say that I don't know if that comment has anything to do with him winning or not. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying.
Dad, welcome to being on a podcast. Alex, anything to add?
I got lost and confused there with all Noahs.
Fucking Noah.
No idea where we're at now.
And, yes, always throwing off episodes there, Noah. Leslie Nees from China joined us to recap the next episode, episode 11 of Survivor Worlds Apart. Let's hear a bit of that one now.
Well, I haven't seen what she said. I try to not, do too much of that. It gets me emotional.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, I wish people would just, this is between Will and Shireen.
Exactly.
This isn't, why do we feel like we have to, have a part in any of that? That's just really none of our business. Yes, it was on national TV, so it kind of makes it sort of public, but it's still a very personal, and I'm sure there's a lot of regret on both of their parts. And the funny thing about Survivor, Ben, you'll see at the end, everybody's going to be friends.
Yeah.
No matter what goes down, no matter who you're mad at and who you think is horrible and whatever, they're all going to be friends after this, because you go through this life-changing adventure that is like literally the only people in the world who know how you felt out there are those people. And nothing gets in the way of that. Nothing. Not even stupidity.
And speaking of stupidity, we moved into the next Oztopsy. Let's hear a snippet of that one now.
Yeah, spread the love. I hope the camera didn't get the kids having to have chicken nuggets or something like that. But you talked about how it's not really personal. I feel like San Juan del Sur, we had really good scenes with Jacqueline kind of babies and John's feeding ice cream to kids and playing softball. And then Cagayan, we had Wu backflipped and Spencer saying he hates kids. I just feel this one.
And Shane Powers having cigarette with boys in Panama.
Yeah, we can't forget Shane. Hashtag vote for Shane. Yeah. We'll get to that.
Speaking of voting for Shane, the month of May, of course, was very busy because it was Survivor Second Chance Cambodia voting period where we voted for the cast of Season 31. We've just seen it end, and at this point of the year, we were heavily voting for people, and it's all about campaign interviews. One person, the first person to join us to campaign to come back on the show, sadly didn't make it. Still, I believe to this day, was robbed. I'm talking about Teresa T-Bird Cooper from Survivor Africa. Not only did she join us to campaign to get back on the season, on Survivor, I should say, she also joined us to recap episode 12 of Survivor Worlds Apart. Let's hear a little bit of T-Bird now. If you come out of the next season as the villainess of season 31, we're taking full credit for that. You do realise that?
Oh, absolutely. And we will definitely use that as a ploy when we start getting the sponsorships that we need.
Yes.
So we're going to use everything we can. Definitely.
But not that I'll be rooting for you, of course. I will be
it doesn't
rooting
matter
against you.
what you do as long as they remember you, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what Dan said. They're going to remember me at the end of this game. And, well, he's not winning, so let's be honest. Hashtag T-Bird was robbed. We had to talk a little bit more about the second chance voting campaign and everything else behind it by doing a second chance analysis episode. Myself and Noslet sat down and discussed each of the candidates and what we thought would happen and who we thought would come back. Let's hear a little bit of that one now.
Sorry, I'm just picturing this scene of like him like losing his shit and then Jeff Probst coming to like massage his shoulder and Shane just punching Jeff Probst in the head. Oh, Cable.
Yeah, look, I'm really, really fucking excited for this.
And sadly, some of those people I remember in that little group there did not make it back on. Speaking of making it back on, Kimmy Kappenberg did. She was one of the stars of the season. We got her on pre-season, talk up her chances of getting back on Survivor. Let's hear a little bit of Kimmy.
I didn't think I'd get it. I was hoping. I mean, I have wanted this ever since I got booted off the first time. You know, I really wanted this opportunity, and to have me and Jeff, somebody else from my season, go back at the same time, I think it'd be phenomenal. You know, we have a little bit of interesting relationship between the two of us. So I think it would be great for us.
One of my personal favourites from the season, and speaking of personal favourites of the season, Kelly Wigglesworth was that exact person for me. Robbed of an edit, sad that she was barely shown, so I feel we need to show, well, at least hear a little bit extended of Kelly Wigglesworth. Came on the show pre-season to chat about her chances on Survivor. Let's hear a little bit from the Wigglesworth right now.
Has the sort of the local community really been getting behind you to kind of see you back out there again as well?
Oh yeah, and I mean it's great because I mean I only been in town 4 days or something. Like I haven't been in America that long really, and people have been great, and I got to tell you I had a great little interaction with a woman in Home Depot the other day, and this was just the coolest interaction that I think I've actually ever had by a fan. Just strolling into Home Depot, I had my head down looking at my list, and this lady's just cruising by me, and she just kind of, sort of out of the side of her eye kind of points and is like, oh, hey, we voted for you, by the way. And, she keeps on strolling, with her and her husband. And I was like, wait, what? Like, it took me a second because I think I just landed the night before or something. And, I was like, wait a minute, she voted? Oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh, cool. But she just, she's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to, I didn't want to embarrass you or bother you. And she just kind of kept on strolling. And I stopped her and said, oh, no, thank you. And what's your name? And, appreciate it and everything. So that was really sweet. That was really cool.
One of the benefits too of having a lot of these people coming on the show to talk about their chances to come back on Survivor Cambodia was getting people on the show who had never been on here before, doing their first ever interview on Survivor Oz. One of those people was Monica Padilla, who of course was successful in returning to the show. Let's hear a little bit of Monica's very first appearance here on Survivor Oz.
But I think Russell is going for Michaela and Natalie. I'm not sure who he's going for actually.
He's given support my way. He's given support to Stephanie, who he played with, Michaela, I think. So he's been pretty good, and he's super into it. I mean, he's so into Survivor as it is. I think he's always going to be in the game.
Yes. Another first interview on the show was that of Keith Nail. Keith, of course, had been on the show before in an exit interview capacity, back when we had exit interviews during San Juan del Sur, but returned for his first full-length interview, as well as a second chance campaign interview. We all know our Ozlet Noah is a huge fan of Keith, and got him talking a little bit about Noah and the town where Noah's from, of Snug.
I'm telling you. Well, tell Noah I love him too.
I think, Keith, what will happen is you get out there in season 31, you will win the season, of course, and look, with your money, feel free to fly out to Australia and take Noah deer shooting. How does that sound?
Hey, I like that. That does sound good. I've never been to Australia. Shoot, let's tell Noah. Let's do it.
Yeah, there you go. We'll lock it in. Done. There you go. Noah, he's coming to Snug. He's from a lovely town called Snug, which is actually guns spelt backwards, Keith. So there's an omen for shooting.
Gun sound backwards. Gun spelled backward. Okay, I'll remember that. I'm going to look that up.
Got PG Law on the show again too, from Survivor China. She, of course, was successful in returning for a second time. Let's hear from PG's pre-game interview.
Look, my first time out there in China,
I was like, it's like when you're a teenage boy and you're going out dating for the first time and you want to get laid and you're just real obvious about it, you know, constantly you're in their face, you're trying a little too hard. And I think now, you know, I'm a little bit older. I'm like the more smooth guy. He's willing to throw the bait out and he takes his time and, you know, so hopefully now I'm a little bit older and I'm a little bit more relaxed. I think that'll help me a lot, just not be so manic and play so hard.
And one of PG's friends, quote, out there in Cambodia was Abby Maria Gomez. And Abby, of course, has been on the show several times over the years, but she returned once again, pre-season interview. Let's hear from Abby's chat now. You guys, I believe, are going to be in the audience, and it's pretty much going to be announced that night. So
oh my God.
I can't imagine the nerves that will be going through that night, Abby.
God. And going through the whole process of just getting ready to go, I'm going to feel so bad for the people that don't. Like, it's really intense because we do have our personal lives too, and we're putting like work, you know, and family and everything that has to do with our personal lives aside in campaigning for this, and then not make it. It's going to be such a bummer. It's going to be a very emotional season. From the get-go.
Other episodes, of course, were still recorded in the month of May, including more about the Amazing Race. Let's hear a bit more from the next episode of that one.
What did Rossi say? Rossi said 4th, so very close as well, Rossi. Colin said 4th, very close. We're all in the lead. Noah said 4th, very close. Kristen said 5th. Kristen gets the point this week.
That's my first real point.
Yeah, that's the first definite point. We're a bit confused on how many Kristen actually has.
But it was then back to more second chance interviews. Terry Dietz, longtime friend of this show, been on several times, finally got his chance to return for a second time after many attempts. Sadly, it didn't end the way he would have liked to, but let's hear from Terry's chat pre-Cambodia.
You know, but like I said, Bruce Conner guy. He, you know, God, he's 66 years old right now. It would be great to have him back. He's a total character. You know, and so maybe you'll see him go back. Maybe they'll have one of those old versus young things again, and you'll see Bruiser back on there, huh? That'd be pretty cool.
That would be great. We love Bruce. One of the stars of Cambodia was Jeff Varner, returning from Season 2 of the Australian Outback. Been a while since we had Jeff on the show, but he gratefully gave us his time to pre-game chat about his chances of returning and the fan interactions that he was having in the lead-up to eventually being successful in returning for a second time. It's engaging the fans. Is that kind of the idea behind what you're doing with those?
That is so cool of you to say thank you. Yes, as a matter of fact, those little graphics are coming to me from fans now.
Wow.
They're making them. And it's fantastic. I don't even have to make them. I have there was a person that was making some of those for me, and she made some great ones. And then it just went on from there, and they started coming in on their own. So the ones that are going up now are actually fan generated.
Fantastic.
And it's just awesome. It's awesome. And I've got some other things planned. I'm far from done. Trying to space this out so the good things happen in pieces. I don't know if it'll pan out. I'm trying my best to make it all work.
And it did obviously pan out very well. Sadly for our next person, Troyzanne Robertson from One World, didn't pan out. We heard from Troyzanne in the previous month in April, came back on in May to try and campaign to get back on the show, which sadly would not be successful. Is your ringtone on your phone the Survivor theme?
It actually is.
There you go.
It is my ringtone. How'd you know that? Did I tell you that before?
Yeah, look, you know, I'm just sneakily hanging around there, Troy. I just hear your phone ring all the time. What can I say?
Okay. Ben, not my ringtone.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's on my iPod when I swim.
You just put the entire soundtrack, so you got some Russ Landau music in the background, you know, pumping yourself up.
100%, man.
The Autopsies continued in the month of May. Let's hear from the next one. I did have to say, Jeff Probst was on, like, fine form. He was back to Psalm 1 del Sur, Jeff, with what he's, you know...
You could tell he wanted to go back to his trailer.
It was brilliant,
like, come on! You have all these things, like hamburgers, chicken, vegetarian, and...
Dove! I love it.
All the... like, he was that obvious.
Rhymes with Rixons. I loved his
Leonka Mixon.
I say this. Think about somebody who quit on Nicaragua. Purple Kelly! No, another person who'd never been on the show before. Stephanie Valencia from Redemption Island ultimately would not be chosen to compete on Survivor Cambodia, but we still had a nice little chat with her pre-season. Let's hear from that now.
We could just step aside and let them do it and see what they think. And if there's any complaints, we'll just be like, hey, it's your fault.
Yes, I can see that happening. I can. Jeff would say that. I could see him saying that.
Jeff would say that. No, but I'm glad it's up to the fans because I don't know, there's this there's this energy right now, I love the scrambling energy, and I think that's why I also love the game of Survivor.
Michaela Vingle also had never been on the show before, and again, sadly didn't make it onto Survivor Cambodia, but let's hear from Michaela right now.
You read my mind. I was like, woo, we're going to be eating good tonight if we get Ozzy and if we get Coach. Okay. And we did. We got Coach, and unfortunately, he wasn't a huge, enemy to the tribe. Like, he wasn't like this amazing fisherman, a dream climber that got every coconut in the entire island, or, could catch a shark with his bare hands and feed a whole tribe or something crazy. It was like, story time, take 100 for the pygmies and escaping. And I was like, dear God, I feel like I'm caught in a bad episode of National Geographic. It just didn't make any sense to me.
Tasha Fox, co-runner-up of Survivor Cambodia, appeared for the very first time as well, pre-Cambodia, and here's a bit of a snippet of a chat when she found out that Perez Hilton was rooting for her to come back on the show. Perez Hilton, he's behind you. Did you see that?
No, I did not see that.
Perez Hilton actually put an article out about a week or so ago talking this up, and he's put his list of people, and you're on his list of people he wants to see return.
Shut up.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to have to hit Perez up. That's my boy.
I will send you the link, but he's also got Spencer and Cass too are also on his list, so he must be a bit of a Cagayan fan. I'm just saying,
he's a Luzon lover.
I'm just saying if Wu made it. Wu made his list too, so there you go. Look, he loves everyone from your season. Damn.
Man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Probably the biggest one that we got out of all the pre-Cambodia people. Stephen Fishbach, who had a long, interesting relationship with us in the lead up to him eventually appearing on the show. Kind of had been a very interesting journey in trying to get him on the show, but he was there. He got on the show. He was finally on Survivor Oz, and here's how that sounded.
Oh my God! Hello. Ben, it's a real pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. I knew I was trying to be the last contestant you ever interviewed, but they keep on having more contestants, so it just may never happen.
Yes.
I figured I was holding out for something big, and this is it. What bigger thing than the chance to actually go on Survivor again? So this kind of glad I waited, Ben.
You've saved yourself, Stephen. It's like you've waited till marriage.
I saved myself. Yeah, I did. I saved myself for a special occasion, and now this is it.
Cass McQuillan, a good friend of ours on the show, previously held the record for longest ever interview until Dan Foley came around. We'll get to that. But she came on not only to give us an episode recap of 13th episode of Survivor Worlds Apart, but also to campaign to come back on the show. And somehow the conversation turned into her and Tarzan from One World in an alliance. The game is afoot as a great man. I keep saying that. I just need to get Tarzan love out there, Cass. I'm still sad that Tarzan didn't make this list, to be honest. So.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine if I had to live with Tarzan for 39 days.
Oh, that would be the best alliance ever, Cass and Tarzan.
Oh my gosh. It would... I'm looking to be tested here, and I'm sure I will be tested if I make it on the season. But Tarzan, wow, yeah, what a guy.
That would be an amazing appearance if Tarzan was ever come back again. Kelly Wentworth, one of the stars, 4th place on Cambodia. Great game from her. She came on pre-game to talk about her chances. And, well, apparently I got into a little bit of trouble from her, actually, pre-game. Let's hear a bit about that.
I feel the fans have really gotten behind everything that you've been posting, even, you know, a fan like myself who hasn't even watched your damn video. But
yeah, you're in trouble. What the hell?
I know, right?
It's literally a minute long. Like, I tried to make it short and sweet, so you have to go watch it. I will post it on your Twitter page right now.
Please do. Okay. Tag me. Does it make up for the fact that I've been voting for you every day? Can I admit that on air?
Oh, okay. I guess that makes up for it.
Right,
but
cool.
you have to get the full, you know, Kelly Wentworth campaign experience.
The full experience. Okay.
The full experience,
Okay.
yeah.
Andrew Savage made his impact on Cambodia, made an impact on us, of course, pre-game as well. Let's hear a little bit from Andrew Savage.
Now you're scaring me. You're talking about the bubble folks, and I could very well be on the bubble, maybe the low end of the bubble.
Well, you made our exit poll list, Andrew. Like
thank you.
You made ours, so the fans of our show think you're going to make it. So they've been voting for you.
All right, you just deflated my panic attack. Thank you for that.
Oztopsy's concluded with our finale and reunion Oztopsy in the month of May for Worlds Apart. Let's hear a snippet of that one.
We're trying to fix something up for Zachary and Catherine. Noah's gotten his laptop and he's going to try and do something. This is going to be a really weirdly edited episode if you're listening to this.
Couldn't you guys just go face to face and share a mic?
Well, Noah suggested that, but if I move this microphone, it's a bit touchy and it might disconnect. Come here for a second. I'll move this, but all of a sudden this might lose itself. So no, I'm talking to this.
Wu sucks. I hate Wu. Well, I don't hate him, but he's not good.
Could you hear him then, people in the chat, in the thing? Like Catherine and Zachary? Could you hear that? I really want a daiquiri. Do you drink daiquiris? Does that make me a little bit...
do you make good daiquiris, Catherine?
No, Zachary. Does Zachary... does Zachary make a good daiquiri?
Zachary daiquiri.
Sorry, we're just being...
Catherine.
She makes a good stout. Tea. With guacamole.
Joke that still listen to the episode. You'll get them eventually. Fun times when Noah actually is at the place of residence of Ben to try and record those episodes. We concluded the month with a John Carroll return, the man who we love getting on the show more than any, apparently. He's been on here the most. He came back to recap the finale of Survivor Worlds Apart and the reunion.
Troyzan, that was a huge oversight. Wu over Troyzan, come on.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. I didn't vote for Wu.
I don't think anyone did, John. Come on.
Yeah, so you don't know how that happens. I mean, that to me there was the snub that T-Bird didn't make it, and then there was the shock that Wu did. That part I did not see that coming.
One thing that we could see coming was the end of May. A very busy May, our busiest month for the year, and that concluded as we looked ahead to June. June means one thing and one thing only in Survivor Oz, Oscars, and always a busy time. And the two main episodes for the Oscars, of course, was announcing the finalists and then announcing the winners. Let's hear snippets from both those episodes right now.
Noah, including yourself, what interviews do you want to see make this? The ones that, how many have you listened to?
The third one. No, I've listened to them all. I just don't take note of what year they came out in. But I'm going to say Lynn Spielman was quite informative. Charlie Parsons, was that this year?
No, that was last year.
Oh, well, that was good anyway.
Thank you.
Remind us of just a few of them.
Well, a few names we've got the last 12 months. Jeremy Collins, Ethan Zahn, Keith Nail, Jacqueline Schultz, Natalie Anderson, Tony Vlachos, Lynn Spielman, Stephanie Valencia, Stephen Fishbach. I'm just pulling random names out here, so not necessarily ones that are in the finals. So
I'll also say Keith, because I got a big shout out in that one. I loved that.
Personal favourite mine, of course, was Mad Dogs.
Oh, was that... Yeah, Mad Dog gets my number
and
one.
Jolanda for her, doing certain things while she was... anyway.
Mad Dog rapping was the best Survivor Oz moment ever.
In my Bugatti.
And from Survivor Worlds Apart, Vince Sly. Colin clapping very heavily there. You're on the Vince bandwagon here, Colin. He's only Oscar that he's up for. How many times did you vote, Colin?
Every single time.
Kristen, obviously, you just clicked the finger on Joaquin.
I think I voted a few times and voted for Joaquin and Vince.
Cool. All right, Jimmy, you would have been voting for Kelly.
Yes. Unfortunately, she didn't make the top 5. A bit upset.
Well, she made it of this one.
Yeah.
That's why I read a name out, Jimmy. No, you would have been voting for Rocket here, wouldn't you?
I voted for Vince, but I think most of these people are very worthy. This was a good category, but I do like what Tom's saying in the chat that Joe will be eligible next year for best pre-match.
Well, we're going to have to rework next year a little bit because obviously only one of the seasons will be new players, so we're going to have a very limited field. So maybe we'll have to rejig it and just say best jury player from the last 12 months. I don't know. Usually it's for new players, but we'll have to make a special year next year. All right. Best you pre-jury. Who knows? There could be somebody in this who could win this 2 years in a row. From the winner is... I just gave that away, didn't I? Kelly Wentworth! Yeah. I just gave that away so badly.
No.
Jimmy, do you want to accept this award on Kelly's behalf?
Yes, I do.
Yes? Yes?
Yes, yeah.
One final taste of Amazing Race, season 26 at least, as Noah, Colin and the gang brought the finale recap to your attention. And here is a little snippet of that right now.
Mike and Rochelle had actually to do a challenge. I forget exactly what they had to do, but I remember there was a challenge they had to do.
Well,
that was bad for the rest of them.
Last year they got to carry a manila envelope across the world, so that's something, right?
Poor wrestlers. That was horrible. So episode 11, are we done?
I think so.
I'll take that as a yes. That is episode 11 podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Big fan of episode 11 tuning into this.
So was I, even though I never watched it. And we concluded June and the first half of the year with our OzCap for Survivor Worlds Apart, and drew the first 6 months of 2015 to a close. Let's hear from that now. All right, so moving right along, after she went, we went to...
Stop!
Oh, where's the alarm sound? Nagarote, no collar lost next, and we lost Vince! I remember that preview episode. I did remember bits of it. We spent a good portion of it not particularly liking Vince and thinking that he was going to be an absolute flog, to use an old Survivor Oz quote. But by the end of Vince's time, we were all crying. We wanted Vince to stay. Noah, poor Vince Sly. We want more Vince Sly.
I'd like to personally apologise to Vince for what I said on that episode because he was such a great character. I said he was going to be...
You said he was going to be... Well, he said he was going to be, and he goes away.
A poor character.
Oh, there you are. Hello, Noah. Continue, Noah. We can hear you now.
He was constantly entertaining. Actually, after the first episode, I wasn't too sold on him, but the second episode, I'm like, this guy is amazing. I can't wait to see him dominate the season with his craziness. And then he went, and funny story, I actually watched that episode after getting home from the pub one night at 3 a.m. in the morning. And I fell asleep at the end, and I thought Nina had been voted out. And I checked Facebook the morning.
Yep.
What? Rich didn't get voted out, and yeah.
Indeed. That's June. That's the first half of the year. Moved into July next. July was upon us, and continued on the month with the 3 all-star commentaries. Again, go to our website, click on the commentaries tab to see those, but big project started in the month of July. We started another spin-off show. We had Eurovision, and it was time to give it a crack at something completely different. Movies. 007. It's Colin, myself, Noah, all sat down to talk about James Bond, where we would go over all the films and the news to the latest release in 2015 of the new James Bond film Spectre and everything else in between.
Let's hear a snippet of the very first episode of Double Oz 7. Welcome to Double Oz 7.
I have to say, this is one thing that I've been waiting for a long time. I'm as huge of a James Bond fan as I am of anything. This is going to be a very exciting couple of months.
Very much looking forward to it. And also joining us throughout this journey on the couple of months is a man who is probably the only person in all of Snug to have seen a James Bond film. It is Noah Groves. Noah, welcome to Double Oz 7.
Thank you. I will be going by the pseudonym Dr. No throughout at least this episode and the next episode. Yeah, you said that we were going to be talking about everything that's brilliant about James Bond. I'm sure we'll be talking about everything that's not brilliant about James Bond as well, and maybe we'll even do an episode on James Bond Jr. That's a bit too far, I think.
Still haven't done that episode yet, for those wondering. Interviews came back in July, which is great. Gretchen Cordy from the very first season of Survivor Borneo. We've been trying to get her on for years. She finally joined us for a chat, and here's a snippet of that interview.
The glasses that I made the fire with were BB's glasses, and he had them prescribed so that they were more like a what do you call it, a piece of glass that you used to look at something very close.
A microscope or magnifying glass?
Yeah, magnifying glass. Thank you. Yes. So he had them more. His prescription was more like a magnifying glass. It wasn't even what he wore. So BB really had his head in the game, but he got there and he was like so disillusioned, because then you have all these really young kids who are going, I don't think so. I think I'd rather get a tan, and he's just losing his mind over it, and didn't want to. I wanted teeth is what I wanted.
Had the pleasure of appearing on Gretchen's radio show too. She has a breakfast show in America. So Gretchen, Ryan, if you're listening, thanks for having me on your show. Amazing Race continued in the month of July. The Canadian season, the new Canadian season was up and running. Colin, Noah, the gang all came back to talk about some Amazing Race Canada, and this is part of their cast preview episode.
Yeah, I just hope they mix it up a bit and go to some different countries rather than back to France for another memorial celebration or whatever that was.
Maybe they'll go to Hobart.
Yeah, well, we know that.
That's what it was.
We've been waiting for the last year. There's all these rumors that they filmed in Hobart. It wasn't the US version. Maybe it's Canada.
Never appeared in Hobart, sadly. Continued on with more Amazing Race Canada episodes. Here's the snippet from episode 1.
Who said she would rather take a puck to the face, and then she introduced herself and forgot her own last name. She's like, and I'm Susan. And then just paused. And was like, I think we're done with this one.
Yeah, because it was like they didn't let them reset straight away. They had to let it roll out to the very end, and it was just really awkward.
Yeah, there were so many great awkward moments in this. I love
Brian's tie
as the montage with Brian. Oh, not only with his tie, like, what was he doing with that bad 70s lime green suit on? I mean, everybody else is going through the wardrobe. The wardrobe's provided. Like, was that the best one he could find? Who dresses this man?
Great to keep the Survivor interviews rolling. Carolyn Rivera from Survivor Worlds Apart, runner-up, of course, of that season, joined us to chat a little bit about her time on the show.
Well, Joe's moving in on Malcolm territory.
Well, there you go. Yes, indeed. So maybe needs to get Malcolm to play again so that he's more in the eyes than Joe is. So
yeah. Joey Amazing. Come on now.
I mean, my Aussie's in the background going, "What about me? I'm kind of there too."
Yeah. I have a man bun too. Come on.
Heard me talk a little bit before with the Cass Survivor Cambodia episode in regards to the longest interview being beaten by one Dan Foley from Survivor Worlds Apart, and 4 hours that interview went, still our longest one ever. If you can get through it, you're definitely a fan of this show. And I'm not going to play much of the Dan Foley interview because, seriously, there is a lot to get through. So let's hear a snippet of the current record holder for the longest interview ever on Survivor Oz. Did you make a video for Shireen as well? Or
Hey, how about those New England Patriots, huh? How about those guys? Remember that 1 yard line interception? That was amazing, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was very good. Very good, actually.
Yes.
Yep. Brilliant. Amazing. Lots of marathon interviews to get through, and episodes, I should say, Survivor Oz in 2015. Amazing Race continued. Episode 3 of the Canadian season. Let's hear a snippet of the recap of that episode.
It's the BMO executives.
Yeah. BMO Cashback Royal Elite, they have a MasterCard offer for Jared Lubick here.
For that wonderful promotion.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for a call from Petro Canada, though.
Petro-Canada, or they outsource to Santiago, so you might get it slightly bit of an
I only
accent
travel
if they do
to
that.
areas with Petro-Canada stations. So.
Yeah. I guess there's not really a lot of Petro-Canada outside of Canada, or maybe there is.
Another Survivor interview to happen in the month of July was that with Josh Canfield from Survivor San Juan del Sur. Sadly, missed the cut for Cambodia, wasn't on the list, but we heard a great chat with him. Let's hear a little bit of that right now.
Really frustrating for me because I was like, I have no idea why this happened. And so I didn't find out why until later on at Ponderosa when, other people start coming back in and I started getting the full story, and I was like, oh, really? I was like, that's why?
Damn it,
I
Alec.
hate my life. I know, damn it.
A special episode we did in the month of July too was to sit down and take a look at the first 30 seasons of Survivor. We tried to cap ourselves at a time limit. Myself, Kate, Colin and Julian all went through each of the Survivor seasons. Up until that point, of course, only 30 of them. And it was a fun episode. Let's hear a little bit of that one right now.
This one's harder.
That's what she said.
Oh, dear.
You haven't missed us.
Guess I'll say Ethan.
Ethan, okay. Julian?
Oh, Diane Ogden for sure. Lex. Lex for sure.
Oh, no, poor Diane. She could have been if it wasn't for bloody Clarence and the Beans. Anyway, moving on.
July was over, which means one thing, that August was about to begin. And when August did begin, it was straight back into the Amazing Race Canada. Let's hear a little bit of the episode 3 and 4 recap.
Oh my god. I was gonna say when we did episode 4, I was gonna lose my shit when I had to talk about the BMO Express card. How many times do they have to give the full name? I'm so sick of hearing the person at the desk in the airport say, "What are you paying with?" And then some contestant, the BMO MasterCard, sponsored by Sprint or whatever, and it's like, ugh.
One good thing, of course, the Amazing Race Oz did this year, and big props to Colin Hilding for this one, is bring interviews from both teams and contestants from both the Canadian and the US version. And one such interview they did in the month of August was speak to Cormac and Nicole Foster about their time on the Amazing Race. Let's hear a bit of a snippet of that one.
Yes, they never tell you how many are left. So eventually you just keep hoping and you go to the next stage and the next, and then finally they say, "Yep, you're in."
Yeah, you get this call out of nowhere that says, "Hi, we're just calling to let you know, like, are you still interested in being on the show?" And you're like, "Of course I am." And then they're like, "You and, your team member are going to be a team on the race." And it's just like, you can't believe it. It's, it's one of those moments where you just want to scream and jump up and down. And I find it interesting that this season they captured some of the reactions of the teams that made it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is excellent footage because you literally, you lose your mind realizing your dream is about to come true.
It wasn't all about the Amazing Race. John Mish from Survivor San Juan del Sur, personal favourite of mine and a big fan favourite of many of our listeners, appeared on to talk about his time on Survivor San Juan del Sur. Highlight of the interview easily came down to the fact that we got John Mish to sing a Disney song. Let's hear that right now.
I play classical piano. I can't play one thing that I can sing to. I'm a concert pianist. I can jam on that thing, but I can't sing to it. But I can do, all right. I'll do just a few lines from Genie Land, right?
Okay.
All right. Had them 40 deep, Sherazade had 1,000 tails. Master, you're in luck, cause up your sleeves, you got a brand new plan that never fails. You got some power in your corner now. Save the ammunition in your hand. You got some pump, pizzazz, all and high, and all you gotta do is rub that lamp. And I'll say, Mr. Aladdin, sir, what will your pleasure be? Let me take your order, jot it down. You ain't never had a friend like me. All right.
Oh, that's fantastic. And the one thing that I have to say that people missed out on that is that full-on Genie facial expressions and body movements when Johnny's singing that right now on cam. So you've missed out, people listening at home. Oh, that is brilliant.
You gotta do it all out.
You're welcome, Survivor fan base. You're welcome. Listen to that. I'm even throwing things around from the excitement of hearing that again. Amazing Race continued. Let's hear a little bit more of some more Amazing Race Oz.
Yeah, they could be banking like a good 10 years worth of free gas. Yeah.
Let's be honest, if this was last season and they were giving this away, Natalie and Megan, they wouldn't have needed to have won the race. They would have gas for life.
They would own petrol.
When it comes to August, we also celebrate the anniversary of the Ozlet. Third anniversary of the Ozlet was celebrated in that month. Myself, Troy, and Noah sat down. The only original Ozlets left, sadly, on the show, and here's a snippet of that episode.
Yeah, I think that original Party of Six was really great. Everyone had their highlighted moments in the limelight. Everyone's got these hilarious quotes. Troy dropping out, Troy and Lancey having their showmance, if you remember.
It was one of
I scared Lancey out. That's why she left. She was scared of me. No.
Ethan and Lancey fighting, myself and Jared fighting, all in good fun, of course.
I never fought with anyone, of course.
Yeah, not until the later days, and then everyone turned on you. And
yes. It's all the new Ozlets. I blame all the new ones. I still do, by the way. Amazing Race Canada continued. Here's a snippet of the next episode of that one.
No, I did not.
Remember the store where they went into where they had all those wooden shoes or whatever?
Oh yeah, the corner shop. I remember.
She said she went back there and that it's actually a restaurant in real life, and they just made it up to look like that shop. So there's some faking for the challenges and locations in Amazing Race apparently, but I'm assuming this is a real place because this is way too elaborate for CTV's budget.
The cast of Survivor Cambodia had been known since May, but the official release was, of course, done in the month of August, allowing us to do our official preview episode. And it was a great pleasure to welcome back our New Zealand Ozlet, Nook Chester. Nick Chester returning, and here's a snippet of Nook's return to Survivor Oz.
Oh, it's great. We're trying to spend a whole lot of money on having a new flag because it looks too much like your one, apparently. But other than that, it's great guns here.
Yeah, have you voted for your flag option? Like, do you like any particular new flag design, or do you like the Australia Junior version?
No, I think they're all about. They look like being designed by a bunch of flogs, if you ask me, just to bring Jared back into it. But yeah, I mean, I'd rather stick with what we got, but let's not get too political here.
Never. We would never bring anything up like that on this podcast. The end of the month did bring the end of the Amazing Race Oz. Well, at least for August. Anyway, didn't end completely. Don't want to get into trouble there from that crew, but let's hear a little bit of the final Amazing Race Oz episode for the month of August.
He had this huge smile on his face, and then the very next shot would be him holding the clue out to them, and he looks as miserable as he's ever seen anybody. So I kind of like this guy. I mean, he's very, I'm going to call him bipolar flower guy. So he kind of brought the only humor into this challenge.
August was over, which means it was time to move into a busy September. August ended with the Amazing Race Oz, and September began with the Amazing Race Oz of the next episode of that. See, I told you it wasn't going anywhere. Let's hear a snippet of that one right now.
New Jersey's #1 turbine tire / turbine model, Anthony Rossi's back.
Good to be back. I didn't know I was awarded so many titles since we last recorded.
Well, we've all seen your turbine tying skills, and it is quite impressive, and it's about time you get your recognition for it.
Oh, thank you.
More Amazing Race Oz followed that episode. Let's hear a next episode snippet right now.
Have either of you wakeboarded or water skied before?
I've water skied, but I don't know if you would call it water skiing more than flopping around on the water, struggling to even stand up. So it is very difficult just to even get up onto the water, let alone stay up there and go off a ramp. I've never wakeboarded, but I assume it's quite similar, and it's very difficult.
Now, listener questioned episode happened in the month of September. Don't know why I'm deciding to speak like that. Just thought I'd try something different. Second ever listener questions episode where we answer the questions that, funnily enough, you send in. And one of the questions related to how people from the TV show Lost would go at Survivor. Noah, a very big fan of Lost. And here's how some of that conversation panned out.
Kate and Sawyer, I think, would do alright as well.
Social game.
She would piss people off, I think.
Well, she just ended up hooking up with all the guys.
Well, she would just follow anyone every time they go off to talk strategy. That's her thing. Just following.
Was Claire the Australian with the baby?
Yeah.
Oh, no, she can't.
She'd have her visible jar of peanut butter with Charlie, like.
Early first.
It's Billy.
The people like Jack and Sawyer and stuff like that, they're too obvious. So Saeed or Desmond, because they're not as obvious, but they're still physical.
Who was?
But you're talking about winning now. You're talking about winning the game, though, are you not?
Yeah. What were we asking? Good on Survivor.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, that's
Now,
true.
Kate was mentioned in that conversation. Funnily enough, she was mentioned in the next conversation too. Jen Brown appeared on the show, and as you heard earlier in this episode, we loved her pre-game favourite player of Kate before she went on Survivor Worlds Apart, and we had no idea who Kate was, as you heard before. We had to ask the question to Jen, who the fuck was Kate? We absolutely loved your pre-game interview where you talked about one of your favourite players being Kate. So RB has mentioned who the fuck is Kate?
I have no fucking clue who Kate is. When I filled that out, because like they sent it, we filled it out before we went on the show, and then right before they released the cast announcements and stuff, they sent it back to us to be like, hey, update, like however you want to update it and change stuff. And I'm pretty sure that I had been at a winery event all day when I got the email, so I was like, sure, I'll respond to this. And yeah, I don't know who the fuck Kate is. I don't know what I meant, but I like that the mystery that it's caught, that like all this like controversy that it's caused. So many people ask me all the time, and I'm just like, fuck, man, I don't know who Kate is.
It's brilliant.
Like,
we ran with it. We still bring it
People are
up.
like, is it Katie? Is it Kat? Is it? I don't know if it's Katie or if it's Kate or fucking like what was it? Kim? I think I might have meant Kim. I don't know. I have no idea who I was trying to say. I had no clue. Hell, I might have just put it in there for shits and giggles too. Like I don't remember.
Shits and Giggles always is fun, and Shits and Giggles always came about with Amazing Race episodes. Let's hear some fun and Shits and Giggles of the latest episode after the Jen Brown interview.
A lot of different ethnicities and races and things like that.
Heights.
What?
Heights.
Being high up.
The height.
Opposite of
That's
low.
what I look for in an Amazing Race cast. I love the tall contestants and the short contestants.
So you're not heightist then?
No, I love them all.
That's good to know.
More Amazing Race interviews happened also in the month of September. Mike Dombrowski and Rochelle Neverdal were interviewed and spoke a little bit about Phil Kogan, and Colin got a little bit excited about a documentary that they mentioned.
I don't remember the name of it.
It's where he cycles across North America, and he's just a really interesting guy. Mike got me his book, No Opportunity Wasted for Christmas, and there's a lot more to Phil that you don't see on the race. I definitely recommend watching that documentary, though, if you have opportunity.
We didn't even know about the documentary. We did, during the season 25 coverage, every week we would have a fun fact about Phil, and we found out about his book and, his protein bars and all this stuff. But there's a documentary out there. We're going to have a whole new season worth of material now to go off of.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good documentary.
More interviews from the Amazing Race. Brian and Cynthia appeared on the show, and here's a little bit of that interview.
Was that my prediction? Did you dig that up somewhere?
Hey, I may or may not have, but you had us going out the second team.
Cynthia does her homework. She's
Oh, there we go, 10th, yeah. If you look at the predictions, none of us really did well.
Colin doing very well there and facing the music. Survivor Cambodia kicked off in the month of September. We had to do an Oztopsy when it came to that. Noah was at my house when we did this Oztopsy, just like he was for the finale of Worlds Apart, and a little bit of fun happened during that episode. I will say, this is weird with this microphone. There's almost like a 1 second gap. If people are listening to this, again, they don't know why there's a pause. Noah's sitting next to me and I'm having to move the microphone back and forth. It was kind of funny, though, that we did get, after all this scene, we got our very first ever Jeff Probst on the scene introduction moment. We just need to call this out because this was one of the highlights of the episode. Jeff Probst on the boat yelling at them in the first challenge. They're going to go get the rice, and we'll talk about that from a pure twist point of view, I guess, in a moment. But for then Jeff to kind of turn and face the camera and be like, 39 days, 20 American, 1 survive. A new batch of Ozlets joined us in September. The majority of the interviews for the Ozlet introduction interviews, which we'll hear highlights mainly of in the month of October, we'll bunch them all together. But Tom Shembry, one of our new Ozlets, having to get his on early, and here's a little snippet of Tom Shembry's Ozlet introduction interview.
I don't think you could have put anyone else at number one, because otherwise it would have just been, how can you not put Sandra number one? She's 2 from 2. She's the queen. So I think that was just what you have to do.
Yeah. Well, it's something that we knew was going to cause it, and now everybody wants us to keep updating it every season, and maybe one day I think we'll get to it. I mean, you're welcome now, Tom. You're part of the team. You can join us for 34 hours worth of this if you've got a spare day and a half, one weekend or something.
Oh, I think you should keep it to the original team. Actually, I'll leave it to you guys on that one.
The King returned in September. Brian Heineck did our episode 1 recap of Survivor Cambodia. And what else was I going to talk to the greatest player in the history of Survivor ever to play, except about the topic of yoga?
It's actually fantastic. It's a fantastic form it's a different form of workout. Yes, I have done yoga a few times, and it's not easy. It is relaxing. It's peaceful, but it's something that probably needs to be done in a different type of environment.
Right. So it's something that maybe don't try on Survivor too much then?
Right. That's my thought, especially the first day.
Yes. With Survivor interviews also continuing in the month of September, we brought on Tyler Fredrickson from Survivor Worlds Apart, who told us a little bit about his experiences on the very first moments of that season.
Then you get out there on the mats and you finally starting to look at the people around you, and I'm seeing a dude in a suit, and somebody else is dressed well, and other people are kind of dressed in their sort of character stereotypes mentioned before. And then Jeff says, you're the white-collar tribe. And I'm like, okay, well, recently I've been out of my white-collar profession to become a writer and a producer. So are they spinning me as, how are they moving, how are they maneuvering me? Okay, forget all that. Who cares? Now, what does it mean to be white-collar, and what does it mean to start connecting with the people around me? Who is this girl next to me? This beautiful Korean girl. Who's this dude with the slick-back hair named Joaquin? Who are these people that I need to start to figure out where they're from, what their background is, because I know very quickly that I've lived a very no-collar life. And in fact, right up until a week or two before casting, I was cast on the no-collar tribe.
Right.
They pulled me at the very last second. So I know that I live a very no-collar existence. I happen to work recently a white-collar job, but I love a blue-collar work ethic. So I feel like I can kind of melt into any one of those aspects. So for me, the reality became less about, all right, what's the collar and what does that mean to you, and more about who just are you.
Great interview with Tyler there. Another Worlds Apart person who came on the show, Nina Persh, who got a great compliment from one of our listeners, and it nearly brought her to tears.
Oh my gosh, that really makes me teary-eyed. That's very sweet. I hope she listens, or he. I couldn't tell what you said the name was, but I hope they're listening, because that really melts my heart. I mean, that really makes... I have tears in my eyes right now, because that's just the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
One thing that we did release in the month of September was a Lost episode, we called it. Not about the TV show Lost, we heard about that before. But a Survivor Quiz, in other words, a quiz. We tried to do it a couple of years ago and recorded it, and we're planning on doing a big series of quizzes with our Ozlets, but it kind of died and never happened. But we recorded one episode of it and decided to release it. Kind of the hidden episode of Survivor Oz that was never released until the month of September 2015. Now, one of our ex-Ozlets, Lancey, who sadly departed the show in 2015, was quite enthusiastic when it came to doing this quiz. And here's some of her reactions to some of the questions in that episode.
This is the hardest quiz in my life. I've done so many university exams, and I did my HSC, and I'm constantly being tested and challenged, and I suck at this. I actually suck. What is my score? 5?
Please put that in the show, that old rant.
8? I mean, if you tell people this was my score, I will throw myself. This is so embarrassing. I've never failed anything in my life. Oh my God. Oh, now you're going to be even more hard. Jesus. I don't know. I don't even remember that season well. I'm going to say worms and a tarantula and a sea urchin and a pig's snout.
Amazing Race Canada happened in the month of September. Let's hear the next episode of that one right now.
I also really like the Quebec one, with even though we had a lot of crying from Kristen, I like the Quebec episode as well. We have the least favorite leg. Rossi, you already said the nickel, that was Sudbury. Do you have another one, or is that it?
Yeah, just move on.
All right. Jared, do you have a least favorite leg?
Probably the one, I'm not sure what one it was, but the one where everybody was taking penalties, and it was kind of like the 5th time in the season that people were taking penalties. Was it the one where they had to do like the trampoline?
Yeah, that's Saskatchewan. Yeah, that was going to be mine too. I'm agreeing with Jared on everything here. How come we couldn't have had the same predictions for our preseason rankings?
It never works for Colin. The Amazing Race US Season 27 kicked off in the month of September, and of course there was more coverage needed for that one too. So let's cross over to the Amazing Race Oz and hear a little bit of that episode.
Not as much on this one. I still like them. I like that they kind of suck a little bit. Jared? What's your
Yeah, they're our sucky team.
Yeah, what's your famous quote, Jared? What is that about? A special team that sucks?
It takes something like that.
Jared doesn't remember apparently, but yeah.
No, special teams to suck and still be likable.
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of like Survivor Oz. Not really. September was over. It now was into October for the last quarter of 2015. October was upon us, and Survivor Cambodia continued into the season, and we of course brought you plenty of Oztopsies, including the Oztopsy from the second episode of Survivor Cambodia.
Yeah, seeing Spencer cry was pretty fun, so that iced the cake for me.
I love how we're like talking about that within a few minutes. Seeing Spencer cry was fun. Well, okay.
The Jeremy cry was fun too,
Everyone was crying this episode.
Pretty much.
Cable, were you
Savage,
crying
Jeremy.
this episode, or were you crying through The Bachelorette instead?
Not quite, no.
Now, we set the record for longest ever interview. Dan Foley came back and came on for an episode recap. Didn't break the record for longest ever recap, but still had a very good time with Dan. Let's hear a snippet of that recap episode.
Thank you. Yes, I got to tell you, all of us, everybody watching the show, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, dear God, they're going to go to Wu. He's going to give that typical, well, that's interesting. I'll have to think about that. Geez, I'll have to weigh my option. No. Wu just looked at me and went, no. And I think the best thing he said was, you haven't spoken to me since we got here. And now all of a sudden I'm your buddy? Really? I'm so excited and proud of Wu, because they didn't show anything like that the first time he played. And now all of a sudden, here's something that makes him look like a definitive player. And he all just basically told him to shut up.
More Amazing Race happened, and I always like to hear from Kristen. I don't get to hear much on Survivor Oz anymore, but she's on the Amazing Race Oz. Let's hear a snippet of the Amazing Race Oz right now.
I originally thought when they just had first read them that the cardboard thing would be easier, because I was picturing a statue to be super breakable, and I'm like, I can't keep that shit together in the back of a truck, and I'm like picturing the truck on like shitty roads, like, not that they're shitty roads in Buenos Aires, but you know what I mean.
We're making tons of judgments here about
you know what I mean, though. Like,
more Oztopsies happened as well, sadly with no Kristen. Episode 3 of Survivor Cambodia. Let's hear a bit of that one.
Well, despite the fact it kind of fell flat, I think Rossi does have a good point. Well, think about it. If he got the most votes going into this, then it makes sense that the editors would show him just with random stuff, which I thought was really funny this week, that he started off by saying, if I really want to fit in, I need to talk about my feelings. And then he proceeds to have a conversation about how he kind of has a lack of feelings. So there was just an interesting contrast there for how he set it up and how he talked about not really feeling anything. So I thought it was a funny scene. It did run on a little bit long, but maybe it'll have some relevance later in the season. We just don't see that yet.
The episode recaps also continued. Billy Garcia, a very good friend, was back, and he had to talk a little bit about that week's episode of Survivor Cambodia.
Maybe Andrew Savage would probably be that kind of player. But is he really playing? I don't know. I don't think he is. I think he's just there.
Yeah.
More Amazing Race also happened in October, as you're going to hear me say a fair bit, no doubt, throughout the rest of this episode. Let's hear a little bit of that one.
You made a good point that I should mention, that when I say douche bro, I'm not trying to be offensive or mean. Like, you're right, there can be fun teams like Season 9, I'm blanking, Eric and Eric's partner.
The other
name,
guy.
Jeremy.
Eric
and Jeremy.
Dude too, yeah, Jeremy. Like, they can be fun douche bro teams if they're fun, really. And and not always winning. That's the thing that gets me, is like the 20-something male team that just wins all the time. But
it's funny actually listening to all these amazing race bits that I'm not part of, but they made the best of, so got to put them out there. A lot of Ozlet introduction interviews happened in October. You heard me mention a little bit about that in September, but the majority of all our Ozlet introduction interviews happened in the month of October. Let's group them all together and hear snippets from all our brand spanking new Ozlets that we introduced in the year of 2015. Hearing clips here from Adam Allen, Gabrielle Swenson, Jordan Rose, Patrick Gustafson, Ryan Brink, Gemma Kinghorn, and Alec Culver.
I think people probably put these people on a high pedestal and they idolize them so much, but at the end of the day, they're real people, they have real lives, and while we see them for 38, 39 days out on Survivor, they do live their normal lives, and they're really, they're fans as well. They want to talk about Survivor, so I wouldn't expect them to do like 100 podcasts, but you know, occasional just chatting to them on Twitter and getting to know them and building relationships. I'm sure they'd be pretty happy just to say hello and chat to you.
Oh, I think Thailand. I think I missed Thailand.
Oh, how have you missed Thailand? What's going on there? I bypassed that bit when I recruited you, Gemma. Come on now.
Yeah, sorry. and that's the thing. The ones that I've missed are the ones that everyone raves about. So I'm like, because like I really, really want to see my cases. I've got to get my act together on that.
I don't really know. I wasn't like super into it. I mean, I was just kind of watching it. I didn't quite get it until the next season, Pearl Islands. That was the first full season I watched live. So I guess I don't really even remember. I mean, my family watched it. A couple of my cousins who were about the same age, they watched it too. So it was, I guess, familiar with them, but really at school and things like that, nothing really.
Right.
At least I can remember.
Well, my dad was very good when he would email me. He'd just give me like a nice detailed explanation of it and stuff. So.
Fantastic.
And I clicked on it and I saw there were like 3 parts that were each like 3 hours. I was one of the people that commented. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's time to listen to this. And then he responded to it with kind of a not the most polite comment to me and someone else. Saying like, oh, well, you got to listen to it if you want to do this. Like, we're not just doing written content. You're not going to understand it unless you listen to the whole thing. Okay, well, I'll back off. And it wasn't until like a while after we finished posting it that I don't remember why I decided to listen to it at first, but yeah, then I just got into them and listened to them.
I think I spoiled every single season for myself except for our cases, which I thought Kathy won.
Right.
So I had a very different experience where I knew who was going to win right away.
Oh, well, there's again plenty of time. Like you're now on an international podcast here, Jordan. Like you can sell it out there and say, hey, look, Dad, I'm an international celebrity. I'm being heard in Australia. Like now you've got to start watching it so you can hear me talk about it. Because if they listen to you, Jordan, they're not going to understand what you're talking about. So they have to watch the show.
Yeah.
Great to hear those highlights, and I recommend downloading those ones. If you don't already download the Ozlet introduction interviews, get to know who works here on Survivor Oz. Oz Topsies continued, more Ozlets were on those, and Ozlet Julian and myself met earlier this year in August, and Julian had to share a bit of an experience with our meeting earlier this year.
Yeah, it had pickle. Oh, yeah, that was Miss K's burger.
That was good.
We didn't get... Did you get the macaroni one?
I got the one with macaroni and cheese on it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I had the diarrhea the next day from those burgers, though, I must say.
Great.
Thanks for that.
So, Miss K's, everybody, in Brisbane. It's a popular burger joint.
Get your diarrhea fix. I have no idea.
Cleanses your body.
Sorry, I just completely took you out of it there, literally. Carolyn Rivera rejoined the show to talk about Survivor Cambodia. I sadly wasn't able to do the episode, but Colin filled in quite nicely. Let's hear a bit of a snippet of that recap.
The fans all want to know, like, can this guy 10, 12 years later, or however long it's been, still perform like he did in Panama? And of course, he didn't win, but he was really strong this week.
Exactly. I mean, he showed that he still has it at, I think, what is he, 55?
Yeah, he's up there.
There he is. Terry Dietz still bringing it home.
it was nice even just for him at the age he was in Panama, but especially now just to see he's still got it. Because you get these, I mean, everybody remembers Colby, Heroes vs. Villains, and James pegging him Superman in the fat suit. So Terry can do it at his age. Colby has no excuse.
Exactly. And I mean, Joe's a challenge beast anyway, so I mean, he doesn't really have to prove anything. He's like the Island MacGyver. Come on.
Yeah.
More Oztopsies occurred. Let's hear a little bit of the next one.
But as far as the Kimmy eating meat thing, I'm pretty sure most vegetarians are okay with eating seafood, and so that's probably why.
That's what I'm trying to. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to explain very loosely there, Alec. Thank you.
Too bad that nobody could hear me say that. But
the month of October also brings about celebrating our birthday. Our annual birthday episode happened, our 4th birthday celebration in 2015, and we sat down with the grandmother of Survivor Oz, or the mother of Survivor Oz perhaps, Gillian Larson from Survivor Gabon, and she talked a little bit about Reality Rally, an event that I'll be attending in 202016.
You're going to be making a idiot of yourself. You're going to be dressing up in costume and performing on the stage and, in front of industry judges, and you're going to be making a movie with the film industry and skipping through the marketplace, maybe wearing a tutu in front of hundreds of market shoppers.
Sounds like a Saturday night to me, Gillian. I'm used to it. It's all good. I'll be looking forward to it.
It'll be great. I'm really thrilled you're all coming, and everybody who's listening, go in and help Survivor Oz team raise some money. Just go click. Very easy. RealityRally.com.
And you can still do that too, right up until the month of April in 2016. Donate money and help out a great cause as we head over to represent Survivor Oz there in Temecula in California. Now, no episode recap that week with an actual Survivor. We had an issue getting somebody locked in, so Ryan and Noah sat down to give a special Ozlet recap episode of Survivor that week.
Not that I like Monica Padilla, but I probably would play a bit like Monica. I'd probably try and overplay my hand and get booted out pretty early.
Long-term.
Yeah, I'd probably be trying to think long term and be booted pretty early. And oh well, that's the way the game goes, I guess. But yeah, I think probably Monica, which is sad to say because I'm not a big fan of Monica.
More episodes without me in the month of October seem to be the norm. Amazing Race Oz US season 27. Let's hear from our next episode recap of that month.
The Douche Bro team. Dumbest Amazing Race team in the history of the show. We'll get our opinions on that, but I would put them up there. I was not impressed at all. So just to summarise, and we'll talk about this, but their plan was that they would use their express pass on the U-turn Justin and Diana, and give the express pass to a different team, and then a different team would U-turn the Douche Bro team, James and Tanner. Is that James and Tanner? Josh and Tanner. And then that would be that.
Episode 6 of Survivor Cambodia. Another Oztopsy happened. Let's hear from the final episode of the month of October.
Good. If I was Brad Culpepper right now, I'd get my fingers out and say 5 into 13 is bad or out. Something like that. But yeah, she still has her idol. I think that's going to help her, especially at a merge. But 13, I think she's going to become a little bit more invisible there. I think there's going to be bigger fish to fry. And I think that the merge is going to come at a really good time for her. And hopefully, for her sake, that 5 can survive 3 or 4 more votes and stay strong.
October was over. That means that it is moving now into the next month. The next month, of course, being November, Survivor Cambodia still continuing. A very good friend, John Carroll, returned once again to talk about Survivor, and he talked about their first episode of November with us on Survivor Oz.
He can't break a stick, he can't chop a coconut, he can't shoot a slingshot, he can't run. It's like... it just never ends. And then he wants to play this great psychological, crafty game, and he's got, like, Jeremy, who's just, like, chill. He's like, I got the numbers. We don't have to do anything stupid, and I think, Steven's like, no, you can't rest on that.
Survivor Cambodia continued also with our Oztopsies. Our episode 7 Oztopsy was the next one. Let's hear a bit of that one.
I fucking hate John Carroll so much.
What? Why do you hate John
Are you
Carroll?
watching my cases?
This is Cambodia.
Cambodia,
Kate.
not the DVD.
We're up to season 31 at the moment, right?
I'm on West Coast time now, and I couldn't find it on East Coast, so I had to wait 3 hours. And I make a huge effort not to get on social media or check anything or whatever, and I was on my iPad, and goddamn Periscope pops up with a notification that John Carroll is like, oh, Cass is grass. And I'm like, really? Really, man? Thanks for ruining the episode. I can't unsee that.
Apologies to John Carroll there. We talked him up, and then apparently Kate decided to talk him down. Troy Zan Robertson sadly missed out on me on Survivor Cambodia, but he did come on the show to talk about that week's episode of Survivor, and here's a snippet of that one.
You know, maybe that's why Wigglesworth is not doing anything. He should always say, I want 0 targets, so I'll do about as little as possible and say absolutely nothing.
Good idea. Might have worked. Amazing Race continued in October. Make that November. Losing track of where we are in the year, Ben. Let's hear our next snippet of the Amazing Race Oz.
I kind of thought that they've been getting a little bit of a dumb guy edit in general. I mean, we saw when we talked about the last episode, when they were in those canoes, they're like paddling in circles. Like, I don't think that they've ever gotten like the smart guy edit. I feel like that they're just kind of really dumb but lucky and semi good at like physical activity guys. Like, I don't know. Have we ever thought they were super smart?
Apparently I'm just losing my mind in this episode. Cambodia, episode 8, Oztopsy was the next episode to hear. Let's see if I make a little bit more sense in this one.
It was nice to hear Kimmy even say that it was her first ever award in Survivor, so...
Yeah, but then I was thinking, Kimmy, you went out 5th.
No, but yeah, exactly. But even then, don't forget that. No, but don't forget the Australian Outback rewards weren't really rewards back then. One Dorito and a bit of Mountain Dew is not really much of a reward, is it?
Well, it's like in Heroes vs. Villains. It's like, Jerry, this is my first ever immunity win. It's like, you've only been at the merge for a few days.
And let's be honest, Kimmy didn't win a reward in Australia, but her team did get an entire pig, which I'm sure ranks right up there with this one.
Still losing my mind because I actually wasn't even in that episode. Teresa T-Bird Cooper, just like Troy Zan, didn't make Cambodia, sadly. Was robbed. Hashtag T-Bird was robbed. But still gave us her time to talk about the season that she nearly was on and recap that next episode of that week.
No, I know it. You know, I don't even have an opinion on Wigglesworth. I mean, I guess when I look at her and I look at Keith and Kimmy and Abby Maria, they look like people absolutely you want to have right there beside you because I'm sure. Now again, I know all these 20 players are playing the game or they wouldn't be out there. But it does not look to me that they're playing like the Fishbacks or Spencer that are playing. They've got to go and they're looking at every different way they can to progress into the game further. Where these others, I figure, they're trying to get, 3 days closer to the end, but you just don't see it.
Now, episode 9 of our Oztopsy featured a very special guest, actually. Noah took control of that week's episode and for some reason got a special call-in listener. It was strange because it wasn't even live, but let's see how that turned out.
I hate to interrupt, but this isn't live, but we are getting a phone-in. A guest is phoning in to the Oztopsy.
What?
Is this Zachary Chong? Is it Catherine? Hello, guest phoning into the non-live Oztopsy. Who are you?
Fucking pissed off. That's what I fucking am. Oh, don't you laugh, you lotter. Oh, yeah, laugh it up. I wasn't even meant to be here, but so incensed and fucking angry am I right now that I had to come on and rage at something.
Why are you angry,
Can I
mystery
throw
guest?
something? Fucking Stephen, fucking Jeremy, fucking Spencer. Why vote out Wigglesworth? There's no point to it. We've waited 15 fucking years for her to come on the show. We see her for like 2 minutes and then she's voted out for no reason. She gets one fucking confessional in her last episode. I just want to punch something. This is
Noah's
ridiculous.
the closest.
Oh, well, I'm going down to Snug in a minute. God, has he been hosting this episode all right? I don't know.
Still don't know actually who that was, and we never discovered that. Anyway, the big news that week, of course, though, that was announced was that Australian Survivor was to return in 2016. Channel 10 network in Australia had gotten the rights and will make another Australian version of Survivor. Get excited. So, we were very excited. We needed to sit down and talk about it. Here's a snippet of our Australian Survivor reaction episode. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. These are shows that they have brought back, and they have rated quite successfully. Yes, Cable, you're telling me to be quiet about The Bachelor?
No. I was going to say, you could also say, I know they started with it, but The Biggest Loser's been a success for them, and same with the Shark Tank, which they brought out last year as well, which was really good.
Just like earlier in the year that I was very disappointed that I missed out on doing the Nadia Anderson recap, I was sadly unavailable to the John and Jacqueline Mish recap, but Ryan Brink stepped up to the plate, took control of the episode, did the interview, and here's how that turned out.
I'd like to say Jeremy, because I'm pulling for him. I really am. So, Jeremy, if you hear this, I'm not saying anything against you, buddy. Love you, bro. I think Fishback's doing a great job. I think Fishback could win. So, that's what I think. I think he's going to pull it out.
But I guess that I'm totally biased because this is the only one I've ever talked to about strategy. So.
Jeremy's good, though. He could pull it out. He could do it.
Well, he did. Good call there, John. Next, Oztopsy was up, and let's hear a snippet of that one next.
No, I mean, I do wish we were seeing more of her just because I think it's made it very apparent that there's no way she'll win. She could totally make it to the end, but she won't win. And her confessionals have been good, so it's unfortunate.
Just saw Keith's moustache nail in our group put a Kimmy Keith final 2 love heart. How would that be for a final 2? Best season ever.
Don't drop it.
Don't drop it.
Well, you joked, but a Kimmy Kuppenberg win, people would laugh their asses off. But there's no better second chance story than that, surely.
Yeah, well, it would have been if Kelly Wigglesworth had won. Speaking of Kellys, and some would say Purple Kellys, Purple Kelly came back on once again to recap episode of Survivor, and just like she did Worlds Apart, ended up being on the double episode that aired episodes 10 and 11 of Survivor Cambodia. Let's hear a snippet of the Purple Kelly Shin episode recap for Cambodia.
That is funny.
Last season, I don't know who I picked to win. Jeez, sorry. Yes, no, go ahead, please.
You totally probably picked Mike. Just say it.
Sure, I'll say that just to come across like I am right.
You're a winner always, Ben. Don't worry.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to put that on my business card.
Oh.
Ben, winner always.
You know what? Last season I wanted Sierra to win. I was like all for her winning.
I think
she made it pretty darn far.
Yeah, I remember pre-season I likened her a bit to Kim Spradlin, just sort of looks and how she came across during the game, but we never saw her last season, did we? She was kind of like the invisible one, so yeah. I'm really struggling to think who I picked last season to win. This is annoying me. It was Max Dawson, by the way. We discovered that afterwards. That was November. It is time then to move into the final month of 2015. Of course, being December, kicked it off with a couple of Amazing Race Oz episode recaps. Episodes 8 and 9, as well as episodes 10 were recapped. Let's hear snippets from both those episodes right now.
Okay, Rossi, I don't know if you heard the episode or not, but who do you get annoyed with more, Logan or Chris?
Chris.
Okay, Jared? Oh, never mind. Chris. He says Chris. There's a lawnmower in the background, Jared, which I failed to read the note on. Yeah. Do we have any theory as to what this could be? I'm hoping nobody has spoilers, but Rossi, any idea what's coming up?
Maybe it is Amazing Race Outcast Edition. So all the teams from all the past, from this season are fighting in a challenge at the pit stop.
Adam and Alan versus TMZ versus Tanner and Josh.
Yeah, and then whoever wins is the fourth team that races into the final leg. So we'll have another Final Four in the finale.
Episode 12, Oztopsy, was next for Survivor, and it was really getting to that point of the season where Kimmy Kappenberg was still in it, and I personally, and so was Noah, were very excited of the prospect, of the very slim prospect, that she might even win the season. I'm honestly just like smiling, and I'm not tearing up, but it's kind of like, when you're really happy and your eyes just get like woo! Like the thought of a Kimmy win. Like, would that just not be, that would be the greatest thing ever. Like, seriously.
I would love that.
We're to the point now with this Final 7 that probably, I don't even want to say I would be disappointed with anybody winning. I mean, there are people I want to win more so than anybody else. But she's the number one with the bullet. Yeah. Like, Kimmy, oh my God. It was a pointy end of the year, but it didn't mean we still couldn't do some interviews. Reed Kelly from Survivor San Juan del Sur sat down and joined us and talked a little bit about food.
I want spaghetti, and I want to cover it with maple syrup, and then I'm going to put it between 2 slices of pizza, and like all of this stuff sounds amazing to you at that point. So that was really fascinating. I just wasn't expecting that. Wow. Not to mention, taking that one step further, I wasn't expecting my relationship with food to change so much leaving the game. And so that's one thing that still surprises me to this day. I never liked sweets before I went into the game. They just never occurred to me. Like, I never really liked birthday cake. I've never been big into candy. Like, I like chips and whatever, but that's it. All I fantasized about out there was, like, sweets and candy and donuts and like sugar. And then when I got out of the game, I'm like a sweet tooth now. Like, I'm obsessed with sweets to the point where like I can't keep them in the house because I have no control to stop. And so that's been what's been so fascinating about it, is that was completely unexpected.
One player that I felt was robbed of being on the ballot for Survivor Second Chance, Marty Piombo from Survivor Nicaragua. Now, he's joined us several times over the years, including back in Survivor Cagayan, to talk a little bit about Spencer, who Spencer likened himself to Marty. They both came on for an episode recap during San Juan del Sur, but we had to get Marty back on to talk more about Spencer on his second time. Now, this episode, again, not hosted by me, sadly. Colin stepped up to the plate once again. Here's a bit of a snippet of that recap.
Every time that happens, you're so psyched, but man, it has got to be just one of the most mind-bending decisions to make, and such a bummer. I mean, can you imagine, like, just knowing what that feels like and what it would be like for people to be able to spend some time with their loved one, and you're making the decision? And how does that work out for you? Do you end up paying for it, or do you take the right people with you? How does that all play out? I think at the end of the day, everyone should know, anybody that really plays the game, doesn't really matter, right? I mean, you shouldn't want to just vote somebody off because they didn't take you, and you certainly wouldn't toss somebody a vote simply because they allowed you to have, a getaway with your loved one.
More Amazing Race occurred in December. Let's hear a snippet of the next Amazing Race Oz episode.
Which, I could see a season 25 happening where the teams to win do fall through in the final episode, and I don't know, Joey and
See, I'm not the only one, Kristen.
Joey and Kelsey could
You're making
fall
Kristen
through.
turn over with a migraine. Okay,
yeah.
In the dungeon.
Episode 13 of Survivor Oz, our autopsy, I should say, not of the entire show, happened next. Survivor Cambodia, episode 13. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's hear a bit of that episode.
Your lack of faith in Keith is very disturbing.
The force is not strong with Daddy Keith.
Could you imagine Keith as a Jedi? I'm a Jedi!
Oh, the force.
I'm the hillbilly Jedi.
Who would have ever thought I would be on Tatooine? If they said I would be Tatooine,
they thought I'd be on a spaceship to Mars.
But I'm on Tatooine.
Survivor on I am. There we go. Somebody please. Alina, I want you to make Keith nail a Jedi in a poster.
Luke, go to Dagobah to get your training from Keith.
I killed younglings. Yes, we're all thinking about Star Wars. Get over it. It's 2015. We haven't seen a new one in 10 years, all right? There's more Star Wars to come this month as well. So if you don't like Star Wars, you might not like this month. You might like Denise Stapley, though, winner of Survivor Philippines. Joined us for the penultimate episode recap of Survivor Cambodia. Let's hear a bit of that one right now.
So see, we don't want you to jinx it. So maybe this is going to be the year, Ben. Maybe this is it.
Maybe.
That 2015 is going to be the year you get it right.
Yes.
So, I don't think I've ever gotten it right. We've tried, doing the, pools here at our house, and I've never gotten it right. So
yep.
You never know, though.
Yeah,
I'm hoping you're right.
Well, we've done sort of a mini pools against with some of the Ozlets. The main one we do like a sweep, so it's just all completely random. And I actually had Abby, and I was like rooting for the fact that if at least she made it to the final tribal council, I get like a little bit of money, even if she comes third. So I'm like, well, I've got $30. She's going to make it to the end and get no votes or whatever. So I was like, damn it.
Nice. There you go. Darn.
She just got cut right towards the end. The great thing about having Denise on was that we had tried so hard to get her on for an episode recap since our first interview with her, so it was great to have her on. Speaking of great interviews, one of my favourites of the year and one of our best interviews for the year, this one should be a very strong contender for best interview in our Oscars next year. Deb Rich, formerly, of course, Deb Eaton, first boot from Survivor, the Australian Outback. Noah Groves organised this one. He wet his little panties really over this one, and of course, got to speak to Deb about rocks. Let's hear a bit of that interview right now. And you already talked about it, about building a shelter out of rocks. And this is, I think...
I have a famous quote.
Well, this is it, Deb. This is, I think, a lot of your
You're
fan
killing
base.
me, Ben.
I'll have to send you a copy of our introduction, because a lot of your fan base and a lot of kind of what people like to remember is that line where you talk about, let's build a shelter out of rocks. I'm not doing your accent justice. With
As
rocks.
a little child, I went back to the 3 pigs, and the wolf couldn't blow the house down made of rock. Come on. Am I the only one who gets this?
Well, did you succeed in building any of the shelter out of rocks, or were you completely shut down?
I was shut down. I was persona non grata. I was, and I couldn't start a fire. And did anyone else start a fire? No. But I was smart enough to bring magnified reading glasses as my one thing that I was allowed to bring. They don't let you bring anything of use. So I said, ooh, I'll sneak my magnified reading glasses in, and I'll use them to start a fire, I mean, that's a pretty smart way to think. How was I to know that there would be no sun? There was no sun. It was overcast. There was no fire. And I'll tell you something. I was in New Hampshire, and there was a bunch of kids stranded on an island. I was out there boating. I was on a boat. And as I got closer to the island, I saw these kids out there, and something had happened to their boat. And I remember getting closer, and all of a sudden this boy looks at me and goes, "Got a match?" And I was like, "Oh, you little bastard." They knew me from Survivor and not being able to start a fire. I took more heat over not being able to start a fire. And come on, it was soaking wet, rainy, and cold. Who was going to start a fire?
Download the entire interview. It goes for over an hour. It is fantastic. It is everything that you hope it will be and more. Our final Oztopsy for the season came after the, of course, finale of Survivor Cambodia. Funnily enough, Star Wars apparently was still on the mind, as we communicated with one of our long-term listeners. One of our long-term listeners, who I don't know if he's ever sort of been mentioned on this show. He sort of messages me a lot, just on my personal account. Blake, hello Blake. I think he's actually sitting here watching the episode of Survivor right now. So everyone, hi Blake.
Hi Blake.
He hasn't seen Star Wars yet, so don't tell him that Jar Jar and Leia have a son. So just keep that under, keep that secret.
He's the next of kin.
Excuse me. I'm just dying of the heat here. We're complaining that it's like in the 30s, and they're complaining about the 40s in Adelaide, whatever. Star Wars was so much on the mind that Noah and I had to sit down and do a reaction episode to Star Wars, The Force Awakens. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. We got into trouble from a couple of our Ozlets because they weren't involved in it. But, yeah, this is how it, well, at least part of it turned out.
There you go. Good. How are you? Bit tired.
Yeah?
Seeing as we've slept like 4 hours or so in the space of seeing Star Wars, like, what, it's probably been 20 hours since we've seen it.
Pretty much. We should just put this into context. It's a Thursday night on the day of the Survivor Cambodia finale. Survivor reference for those wondering at home. And we've recorded our Oztopsy, which for those who have no idea, if you maybe you're listening to this just purely on the basis of Star Wars and you don't know what
Star Wars fans.
Hello, Star Wars fans. That basically we record our recap episode at a very earlier time. So instead of doing one tonight, and Noah's here at my house and can't get rid of him, he just wants to stay around, it's
thought we'd record an episode, and we actually got home from our midnight, 12:30 screening of Star Wars last night, got home at about 3:30 and stayed up for about an hour and a half talking about what we liked and didn't like about the film. So we thought, well, why don't we translate that into an episode?
We should have just clicked record at that, but if we did, it would have been a lot of, but what was this and what was that?
Our last episode recap of the year and the season of Cambodia. We were thrilled to welcome back the winner of Survivor China, Todd Herzog, to the program. Now, Todd obviously had gone through quite a fair bit since we'd last had him on the show. I didn't get to host the episode, sadly. Ryan Brink did, and Ryan just posed a question to him on how things are going and everything with Todd's life.
How is life going at the moment? How is everything? I know it's been pretty public, everything that's been going on in your life, and, you know, when all that stuff
my life
I know you're
has
in my
been,
prayers and everyone else's.
Yeah, you know, my life has been very public, and that's okay, because I'm doing fantastic, have been for a long time now. I am happy, healthy, strong, sober, and, you know, with going through my alcoholism and having to go through rehab and whatnot, it's just another lesson to me that you can get over and on top of anything you put your mind to.
And we are super glad to hear Todd is going okay. Our final episode of the year was an Amazing Race Oz episode as Noah, Colin and the gang recapped the finale of season 27 of the Amazing Race Oz. Let's hear a bit of that one right now.
Yeah, we're going to pay you for the ride we just took, but keep the meter running and consider this another ride we'll pay you when we get back. For
Why didn't he give you extra? It's the last freaking leg.
I know, like, was he trying to save some money for something later on?
Yeah,
like,
for his Jeep, like Tarzan.
Honestly, I think it's just a New York thing where, you know, maybe he's had all these bad, like we said, it's throughout the entire race he's had these problems with cab drivers. He probably has just had these bad experiences in the past, and he just has a bit of a chip on his shoulder with these drivers. He's like, no, I'm not going to let them take me for an extra $10.
Jordan, are there shady taxi drivers in New York?
You never know. I don't know.
They're shady in Korea.
Well, actually, our final episode of the year wasn't The Amazing Race Oz. It was the episode you're listening to right now, the best of 2015. And, look, why the hell not? Let's hear a snippet of that one right now. Yes, it is Survivor Oz, Australia's #1 TV and film podcast, coming to you once again for our annual end of season episode, the episode that we go over the year that was, and this year obviously being 2015, it's time to go over the year that was 2015, and busy, hectic year as always. We had a lot of things going on. We introduced some new spin-off shows and brought in interviews, tried a few new things, and particularly at the start of the year, did our longest ever project yet. Turned out to be one of our most popular projects yet, and still to this day, amazingly, gets a lot of feedback and a lot of response. Never gets old. We do that every year, and it seems like just only a few hours ago that you heard that part of this episode. That was 2015 for Survivor Oz, another big year for us here, and once again, we appreciate all the support, the feedback, and everything else that we do get from you, the loyal listeners of this program. Whether this might be the very first time listening to Survivor Oz, you thought you'd start at a best of, see what we're all about, and then venture forward with new episodes, or you've listened to every single one of our episodes, never missed one. We appreciate it all the same from wherever you are around the world. Remember to stay up to date with us, survivoroz.com, our fantastic looking website. Thanks to Ryan for changing all that up for us. Facebook.com/SurvivorOz, Twitter.com/SurvivorOz. Find us on YouTube. You can find us all on the internet. We are just everywhere, basically. So stay up to date with everything that goes with it. And stay tuned. 2016, another big year for us going forward. Possible few new changes coming up for our season's coverage as we move into season 32. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, Australian Survivor is going to be a big thing in 2016 that we will be covering. So stay tuned for that. And Reality Rally, very much looking forward to myself personally going over there and covering that for the very first time. Myself, at least, not just having other people there for it. So stay tuned, all on our website and Facebook and social media for everything to do with that. Once again, it's thanking you for tuning in, for reading. Without your support, we wouldn't be here. We do read every single comment and email and message that we do get. We strive our very best to respond to all of them. So thank you very much. It's obviously been a very challenging year for Survivor Oz in 2015. There has been lots of things that have happened, not always positive. but we've weathered the storm. And for those who have stuck by us, despite some of the negative things that happened early in the year, we really do appreciate it. And for those who perhaps have steered away from us with everything that happened earlier in the year, well, we're very sad to have lost you. But we've gotten through it now, and we've moved forward. So thank you very much for sticking by us, to those who have. We'll be back in 2016 for the final time in 2015. My name is Ben. This has been Survivor Oz. The tribe has spoken, and we will speak to you on the trains.